Afterparty. Welcome to the Afterparty. Did you bring some snacks and treats?
Yes, it did.
I hope you got me something to eat.
Maybe.
Welcome to the Afterparty. Coming to the Afterparty.
Right now.
I've been waiting here all day to act like a fool this way. Welcome to the Afterparty. Join us in the Afterparty.
Right now.
Oh, chocolate and gabbing, maybe some microphone gabbing at the Afterparty.
With DJ Eric, Paige.
Me.
A Canada. Actually, I wish I still had a copy of that version. I don't know what happened to it. That has your name on the end of it. Because I could have 3 of them up here. So when you're here, we could play that version. That one's funnier, I think. It's because even if you are here, it's like it cuts off randomly. I think it's hilarious. Anyway, hello everyone. Welcome to the special interlude after party, where we're going on breaks between shows, but not for too long because we have Stargirl coming up at the end of August, which is, Paige, you said that you had heard it was going to be coming out sooner, and I guess
I said it last after party.
Yeah, your source was correct, I guess. So we don't have a lot of time in between now and then, so I'm pretty excited.
You say it's not a lot of time, and then in 2 weeks we'll be scrounging the bottom of the barrel to talk about shit.
No, we'll just find some stuff with Ray Fisher or Ezra or something like that, and we'll do that.
Oh,
They've been keeping quiet the last week or so.
Yeah. I will say I saw the news about Warner Brothers basically saying that Ezra was going to be seeking help or something, and I think that's what they said.
Who their support is, or who their source is.
Yeah, because as far as we know, they haven't had any communication with Ezra. So
I think that's wishful thinking on their behalf.
I think this is it's wishful thinking, and I think it's trying to smooth people over because they are committed to releasing that movie in theaters.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
And Paige, you said, and I'm wondering how this is going to play out, that you believe that it's just too much money invested. They have to put it out in theaters, right? I mean, this is a expensive movie to just kind of throw away, correct?
Yeah, like the only thing they can do the write-off thing, but there's a lot of legal loopholes in regards to the contracts for the actors, because you got to realize you have Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck associated with the movie, especially the Michael Keaton side as well. So
yeah,
I don't know how that would work around. They could write it off, get all their money back, and then put it on HBO Max and get some money from that. But I don't know how the legal stuff would work.
Yeah. 3Dub, welcome back. You either upgraded or you came back. I believe you were a member before, but thank you.
Came back. Yeah.
Multi-topic talk with the GL Super Chat. Just support the show. Happy to see Canada Graphs. Canada Graphs is here. Yes. Not playing GeoGuessr or live on the scene. Actually, I saw a stream that you did pop up is like already done for me, but I never saw the initial going live. So it was weird. After about 40 minutes or something, I think it was you were out somewhere. It was like a few days ago.
The other day, like a couple of days ago.
Yeah, and it was like I never saw it say you went live, and then all of a sudden it was like live stream ended.
I was only on for maybe 45 or 50 minutes. So.
Yeah, it was a very short one. So quick update to why the after party is on Thursday. So we are doing this for the rest of July. This is not going to be the official time. It will be later than normal, but it's not going to be this late. So it'll be more like 2 hours before now ish, somewhere around there.
So it's not Eric's fault, it's mine.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna go with Eric. It's not Eric's fault.
So Paige has some stuff going on in Tasmania that he needs to take care of. So
no, I don't have a second head.
This is just a time of day that will allow him to use the computer at the prison.
Yeah, don't work. I'm sorry, live in Tasmania.
Yeah. Anyway, so
I think I'd rather jump into shark-infested waters rather than
what's the capital of Tasmania?
I think it's Hobart. It might be Launceston. I think it's Hobart though.
Oh, okay, Hobart. Yeah, that's
as I said. If it ever comes up in a quiz, you're taking the wrong quiz. So.
Yeah, probably.
But however, Eric is currently researching on moving to Australia because he's done with the United States.
Yeah, expat. Anyway, so yeah, basically, just Thursdays will be the night for the next. We might actually use Thursdays all the way through till Stargirl comes back.
It'll
I
be
don't know yet.
Thursday
We'll
until
see.
at least the end of July because
Yeah.
that's
So
when
it's
this
tentative right now,
thing ends,
but
yeah.
at the very least, you're going to have a few weeks of the after party interlude.
Wait.
On
Thursday. Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, it's Friday for me, but yeah, Thursday America. Yeah.
Yeah, so people are saying this is like old school after party. Remember, we would go live after the Flash. Or
Yeah,
whatever?
God, those were a shitstorm. They were the best though. They were probably the best version of it because it was just so random.
Remember how
because it was StreamYard didn't exist, so you were relying on Eric's internet, which is so unreliable.
It was really bad back then.
Like
it's
if you're
much
wondering
better
where
now,
the series
but...
doesn't hold up, gets its reference from, it's from Eric's internet.
But it was funny. It was always funny. Like we'd go live, and then 20 minutes in, it'd be like complete dropout and stuff like that. It was
and then we'd restart the stream. There'd be 3 streams going. I was like, which one's the real one?
Gwendolyn, yes, I'm going to be doing all of Titans this season because we're not gonna have any other Arrowverse shows until the beginning of next year. So I'll be doing Stargirl and Titans every week.
Eric's also looking to like self-harm during the end of this season, end of this year, so that's where Titans comes in.
Yeah, 3-dub. I've been this forever. First time being a member. My first time I just went full enhanced. Well, cool. Thank you so much.
Full enhanced.
Full enhanced.
That sounds very sexual.
Also for my Team Eric members, I don't know if you saw in the community tab or not, but I'm going to be doing a watch along, which is basically I will be on stream watching something and then you can watch it along with me, but due to copyright rules I can't show what I'm watching, so we'll be scheduling that over this weekend, and the first thing we'll be watching along with Team Eric members is going to be the Amazing Spider-Man.
God,
Eric is going to act it out for you.
Yeah, it'll be 20.
Why would you choose that one, Eric?
Because it was one that was voted on. So
was it
amazing?
Yeah,
it looks amazing.
So we'll be doing that one.
How do you think a live watch along of Snowtown would go down, Eric?
That would be not good at all. Not a good. No, there's not going to be. I mean, Titans may end up being a rant. It might be. I don't know. It depends on how the season goes. So
can it be a ranty car review?
Reviews,
you can be like, I didn't even need to go anywhere. It's just like this is the perfect environment for
it.
you
know, the thing about car reviews is you don't get like slideshows from me if we don't do car reviews.
Yeah, saying that like it's a negative.
Look who we have. Lance has joined us. What's going on?
Drums.
Is it late for you now? Are the kids in bed? Is that what's happening or what?
The kids are in bed, but I just had to literally run an errand for my church. They're having an event tomorrow. I'm not going. They're using a set of my drums, and people didn't want to come to the door.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. So we got a super chat
roll on the doors with the drumsticks.
Ashwood tells super chat, I wish the season didn't turn Cecile into a plot device, but also she invades people's emotions without consent and gaslighted Barry at least 5 separate times for making his own decision. I mean, that's literally true.
That's
none
true.
Of that is false. That's literally true. So Ash, you were absolutely correct. And we're going to talk about Cecile. So how we're going to do the stream is I have edgy notes that I'm going to go through as we talk about it.
So just notes from Eric.
Yeah, and then at the end, we're going to touch briefly on the Candice interview because I know Lance. So here's the story behind that. Are you ready for this one? Lance and I earlier this week recorded a 25-minute video talking specifically about that topic. At some point during the stream, StreamYard froze both of our videos.
Hard.
It was a weird thing. Like I'd never seen anything like it before. So I went to download it so I could edit it and then upload it. And I was telling Lance, I'm watching the waveform at the bottom of the screen, and then halfway through, it goes loud, and then it's just nothing. Almost 14 minutes of that video was completely silent.
Oh.
So we had nothing. I couldn't use it because it was just half of the video.
Well, you could have uploaded half the video and left us on a suspenseful note.
I mean, maybe, but it was weird because we were halfway in the middle of a topic when that happened. So,
Allen fans, they hacked your internet.
I guess is what happened.
Actually, that would have been a bit of a hack to get double the views because people would have thought, I have to refresh the video.
Should we start doing that? Should we start doing videos where it's
don't give Ben ideas, please don't.
Be and I can't believe that. Boom, to be continued. Then people have to come back
and then just leave a black screen for 10 minutes.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me on TikTok when people do like for part 2, like for part 3, and I'm like, just tell us.
Oh, mate,
just tell us.
There's a dude on TikTok whose sole channel or account is just summing up people's videos.
Oh,
in
like so you don't have to listen to like multiple parts.
He sums it up in like one sentence explanations. It's my favorite account because he goes to like the trending ones and just breaks them down and takes views away from the video that's split up into like 10 parts.
Because that's all they're doing is trying to get.
Well, the thing is because a TikTok video can now be like 10 minutes. There's no need for part ones and part twos. And stuff.
Well, okay. Here's the thing: on my TikTok, I can't do 10-minute videos.
Well, yeah, well, that might be a godsend. So
I could do 10-minute rants on there. I could do 10-minute car reviews on my TikTok.
Well, if you pay for Twitter Blue, I think you can upload 10-minute videos on Twitter. So maybe that's the go-to.
Well, I don't understand why you would upload them on TikTok right now, though, when there's like no real good form of monetization.
Not only that, but TikTok to me for a YouTuber is more of a advertising platform than a monetization platform.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine your cut down promos for a rant and review. You just use trigger words like leveled up and Cecile.
Screaming, throwing stuff around. I did see the guy who tried to do the 4th of July firework in his bedroom, and it like basically destroyed everything in the bedroom. That was pretty rough too.
That was hilarious. I'm like, why would you do that?
And then he's looking at it. He's just sitting there watching it. And I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, people added music to it and everything.
Yeah. So Martin with a 1999 super chat, and they say on what earth in the universe has a doppelganger version of you, Eric, that can compel people to chalk? I think it's Earth 69 because I did a video on TikTok.
Once again, sexual, but
Earth 69 my version of being
but is this an actual power or is this just like your self-confidence?
Oh, you mean like persuasion instead of power?
Yeah, is it like an actual power of persuasion, or is it just
like
that maybe you are so compelling with
well,
the
it could be tech too.
Also,
I could have built a device that makes people do that too.
Well, I don't know. I would find it more impressive if you didn't have the power and people still went about the shocking.
Hey, whatever works.
By the way, I was wondering, I don't think you could perform the chock if you move to Australia. You have to learn like
a new one. Okay.
The only thing I can think of that would be like an Australian version of the chock would be like the nut bush, but I don't know if that would be.
That sounds more.
Can I answer this question?
Yeah. Go. Well, we'll read it out. Go ahead, Jay.
So, Jay says, I said this in the comments, but Bart was going to tell Iris why she was sick, and if he knew she was this sacrifice, why would he keep it to himself? That's a good question.
On his face, Jay.
That's a good question, Jay. And the appropriate answer is plot.
Yeah,
because Eric Wallace didn't know what he wanted to do last season.
I kept asking myself this. I never brought it up in the after party, but after the season was done, I'm like, wouldn't they just go and ask Iris what happens or ask Barry what happens? Because they would remember.
Yeah.
Mecha Mike with the $2 super chat. Any final production for the boys finale? So prediction for the boys finale. Well, some people have already seen it. I think it's out, right? Or is it not? Is it coming out tomorrow?
No clue.
They've been releasing them
a few hours.
They've been releasing them early lately, so I don't know.
Oh yeah, right. Because I remember last week or the week before, Lance was off watching it at like way earlier than I thought it was supposed to be.
It dropped around 9:00.
Okay.
I don't really have any.
We're on here.
They're spoiling it online already.
Okay, so we're not going to talk about that because I don't want to spoil it. So please no spoilers in the chat. I will not be watching it until tomorrow probably because I had so much stuff to watch tonight. I had the Star Trek Strange New Worlds finale. I went and saw Thor, so it's been pretty.
Did you get the popcorn bucket, the big hammer?
No, I actually ordered a double cheeseburger with fries and.
Nothing more American than being at a movie theater and getting a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
There's like one theater I can think of.
How much did that cost? $40?
Well, yeah, the food is pricey because the tickets are like $4 to get in.
Yeah, because they want you to buy the food.
Right. That's well, actually, there was one time I went in. This is no lie at all. It was like in the middle of the afternoon. I went there. They were literally not even checking tickets. People were just walking into theaters because they know they're going to make so much money off of food. They don't care. I don't think the ticket price even matters to them, to be completely honest. So anyway, all right. So let's go ahead and get into The Flash season 8, what we thought about this. We're going to break it up a little bit. So the first thing we had,
What are you drinking, Lance? I'm always curious on a beverage, and I've never seen that before. At least I couldn't see it very clear. Oh,
an orange crush.
We don't have that.
Peach.
Crushed peach.
Yes.
I didn't know. I've heard of crush. We don't have that down here, but I didn't know they had peach. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Peach, pineapple,
Is it like peach drink. I've had peach iced tea.
It's delicious.
I can imagine. I'm not denying that. I think it would be. It'd be pretty good.
So the first thing we had is the
Wanted to see how
5-episode, not a crossover event, Armageddon. And this came out like what was it, December when it came out? Beginning of December?
November and ended in December.
Okay. This is the first 5 episodes. A lot of people forgot that this was even part of this season. Every time I've talked to people online, they're always like, oh yeah, Armageddon was the beginning of the season. I'm like, yeah, because it felt like it was in between the 2 seasons, to be honest.
Yeah. Who's saying this?
People on like Twitter and stuff. They're like, I forgot Armageddon was even a thing. And I'm like, yeah, it was like
Name names, Eric. I need to know. I'm concerned.
So we have Despero. He comes from the future to tell Flash that he caused a world-ending event, which wasn't actually true. The storyline also deals with Welzabard and his plans to continue to punish Barry, leading up to him having his powers removed. So we're going to talk about each villain for each graphic novel, and everybody can kind of sort of chime in on it. What did we think of? Well, this one we had 2. We had initially Despero, who we thought was like going to be the big bad, and then we had the Welzabard Reverse Flash, which wrapped it up. Let's just talk about Despero. What did we think of this Tony Curran, this character, how he's portrayed on the show, the VFX in general? Somebody can go first. What did we think of this?
I liked his beard. It was better than mine.
That's it. All you got.
He was cool. I was a little bit apprehensive about how he was gonna look because you saw the concept art with the cardboard cutout and it looked kind of funky.
It looked like awkward school photo, but
yeah. but ultimately, it came out good. I feel as if his motivations at the end of the day were kind of funky, but
he was very misguided for someone that's so powerful.
Yeah, so powerful, so all-knowing. You just wanted to, stir up trouble just to stir it up. And I mean, that's all fine and dandy. That's what villains do. But you were basically so misinformed about what actually happened.
The thing that shocked me about this villain is he was powerful enough to detect changes in time, but didn't detect changes in time. And I'm like,
exactly.
What? This is very weird to me. I think Tony was great in the role. I've always liked pretty much everything he's been in. So I don't have much complaints about that. Now, he's been in a lot of Canadian productions, right? So, Candice, have you ever ran into him before on any sets? Because he's done a lot of shows.
As far as I can recall, I don't think so. Let me just pull up his IMDb and see what else.
Yeah, I believe he's been in at least maybe 3 or 4 different shows that were connected to Canadian production. Paigey, Despero, thumbs up, thumbs down. What did you think of that?
It is a thumbs up, Eric.
So you were happy with the way he was portrayed on the show?
Yeah, like it was a bait and switch. Like they could have done more with him, but I think because their intention was always it was a bait and switch. Is my microphone gone all fucked? No, it's all good. Okay. Yeah, but because he's the bait and switch was always a thing, I guess, that they planned. I might assume so. They never went full on with him. But I still think what they did with him was pretty good. And his CGI form was really good, except for that when they were in like the speed lab, it always looked weird whenever they were in that area.
Maybe it was the lighting in there. I think it was probably the lighting.
I think it was like the lighting mixed with like it was a bit darker, so maybe they didn't put as much effort in.
Right.
It was like the darkness would cover it, but there was like a couple times like in the far shots and like a couple of close-ups where it just didn't look as good as like all the other shots that they did with him.
And Candice, did you find out where any shows that he'd been on that you might have seen him on?
Most of the ones I can find on his resume that I know to be Canadian look to be Toronto.
Okay, so
nothing Vancouver based that I jumps out at me.
So not in your city then, basically is what you're saying. Yeah. So makes sense. I thought he was pretty good. I honestly expected him to have more to do in Armageddon because obviously with the Welzabard switch, we got to see that, and that led up to a few things. So it was also a Barry-centric storyline, which made it feel very old school. This was one of my favorite stories that we've had on the show, probably since Eric Wallace took over, next to maybe the Bloodwork storyline.
Those are the strongest two for sure, definitely.
Yeah. So
Not the full storyline, just ignoring that absolute masterclass.
We're gonna ignore that one. I guess the only real underwhelming episode for me personally, and I know people are gonna disagree with me, was episode 4. And the reason why it was underwhelming for me is because I feel like all of the time travel mumbo jumbo didn't really add up for me logically. It felt like a lot of it didn't make sense, and I thought maybe by the end of the season we kind of cleaned it up a little bit, and we never really did. So that was the weakest episode for me, but it was still a good episode. And I think as a whole, Armageddon sort of hit all the marks for me. And a couple things to mention about this particular storyline. We had the Mia Queen stuff that happened. Any thoughts on that?
Which was sort of pointless at the end of the day because nothing really progressed in that story. It was just pretty much for the sake of having her on. I thought they were going to wrap up her story. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And it sort of felt that way as well. And then, nope, she just sort of is there. Nothing happens.
Anybody else was excited to see Mia Queen? Lance?
I
mean, Ben was.
I am surprised. I'm surprised that she came back. To be honest, I've said it a few times before. Like, I was sure she forgot CW's number as soon as as soon as Green Arrow and Canaries was off, she was kind of like, delete that number from my phone, because she's gone on to do like some more solid projects than the CW. I was shocked she came back. I don't know what they gave her.
And now she's got another show over there. So
I'm gonna be watching that because I watched Walker and the trailer grabbed me, unlike Gotham Knights, which spit at me and punched me in the face.
Watch Gotham Knights be the one that gets like an Emmy nomination.
Oh no, don't say that.
Watching Gotham Knights get renewed for
not based on that teaser that we saw. That's definitely not the case. We also had the Joe Timestone stuff with Damien Dark that kind of showed up there and then disappeared until the very end of the season, literally the end of the season, which was set up there. And we also got our first taste of Leveled Up. It all began in Armageddon, the whole Leveled Up for the whole season.
They force-fed that to us.
Little taste.
Yeah. So Armageddon as a whole, though, that graphic novel to me was successful, even with all the pointless cameos. I thought it was a good storyline. And honestly, it had me hype. I remember after that was done, I was like, The Flash is back, baby. We're going to have a good season of The Flash. And I mean, maybe in a lot of ways we did. I think there's a little hiccups and we'll get through those, but let's do some super chats before we move on to the next one. Jay with the $4.99 super chat. What if this new Killer Frost is another personality? I know that might sound silly, but instead of Frost, it could be like a Louise Lincoln Killer Frost. I think it is going to be something different. I don't think it's going to be the same character. Are we all under the agreement that it's going to be a different version, or do anybody have any other theories about
I think
Frost moving into next season?
I'm not 100% sure like this is like my full-on view on it, but it wouldn't surprise me too much if they do like a Hannah Montana Best of Both Worlds Q theme song, like, and put them together so you have the smarts of Caitlyn with the powers and just like villainy of that Frost side. So it's like the best of both worlds. I am wondering whether she's fully Frost though, because Daniel Panabaker said they were down to like 25-30 minutes or something to do the makeup for her. So it's not like it takes an hour and a half to do it. So it's not like I mean, anyone else going in to do hair and makeup takes like 15 to 20 minutes. So for her to do the Frost stuff in 25 to 30, that's pretty impressive. But it's not like it's a massive inconvenience for her to do it full time as that character. So I wonder if that's going to be the case. However, I'll stand by my point. If she was really a villain and evil, she would have killed Chillblaine right there and then, as soon as he opened the door.
Yeah.
Everybody under that agreement, or is any other theories?
Unless she is secretly in love with Chillblaine.
Anyway, that silence.
Silent Angel says $5 super chat. Off topic. I love everyone on Twitter fighting for Grant to be on the movie. Meanwhile, he's enjoying life with his wife and kid. Okay, so
his wife keeps popping up on my TikTok and I don't follow her.
Yeah,
and Grant's always in the TikToks as well.
There's like a less than 1% chance they would put Grant in the Flash movie at this point. I mean,
so here's the reality for all the people that keep pushing to try and get him to be recast for it. It can't happen. The movie has to be out by June. Okay, that's a hard date they've committed to, and from what I've heard from everyone else, it's supposed to set up other stories down the DCEU. So that movie has to come out before other things. So they have to have this movie come out. I hate to tell all the Grant fans this, but he's kind of got another job that we'll be filming for like 7 months.
And
Called the Flash television show.
And we saw what happened when actors try to bounce around with Tyler and Superman and Lois, where he was doing just a little bit with Teen Wolf, and he was in it affected production. So
I still to this day don't think that affected production. He would have done it on a weekend where it was a long weekend in Canada, and it's not like he was doing 45 minutes of the movie. He probably did like a 2-minute part. He did 1 day of filming there, so 1 day travel, 1 day filming, 1 day back, 3 days of his life.
I think it was more than that. It seems like he's very heavily involved in this film because of the whole
I guess
he
we'll
has
find out
a
when the
kid
movie finally
aspect.
comes out. I guess we'll find out when the movie comes out. I mean, I won't, but other people might.
You gotta watch it.
No.
Radical Z here with the $2 super chat. I will say that Cecile has lost me after season 8. We've got a lot to talk about when it comes to Cecile.
Hold on.
Cecile lost me after season 4.
Yeah, I was like scrolling
I'm
back.
impressed it took you to season 8.
Why did it take until season 8?
The powers were annoying back then. They just got worse, way worse.
Well, she's a Jedi now.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
Here's another super chat from Naruto. It's a $5 super chat. He goes, Paigey, I guess it's a good thing you never did the Arrowverse tier list stream after Batwoman and L ended a couple months ago, and Superman and Lois doesn't count now. L Legends of Tomorrow doesn't count now.
Is that what Legends is known as now?
L
must be your favorite show then, Eric.
Must be.
Well, yeah, I guess it's a good thing. Even though I don't know, there's always going to be this. I'm still saying it. I saw it yesterday. A tweet about it had a couple of hundred likes about Superman and Lois is still in the Arrowverse, which is it's in the CW verse. If Stargirl's in the CW verse, then it's something that
don't
is on
start
the
with
CW.
that term again.
But mate, like it's a bit of a headache. I don't know. What
there's a lot of people that make content on here that I respect, people that I interact with who
you don't respect anyone, Eric. You really
keep calling it Arrowverse, and I'm going to respectfully say that is just not true. Yeah. You can keep saying it all you want because deep down I think you want to believe that, but it's just not.
Who is this in reference to?
It's just Eric? People. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of channels still.
If Superman
well, you saw them here last week. Andy was in here last week arguing about it. Like, I mean, there are people that are
Superman isn't part of the Arrowverse. Explain Diggle's jacket. Did he just buy the same jacket on that planet too?
Hey, but writer's room, one of the writers did make the whole Superman, Lois, Earth Prime Superman thing weird, and he made it even worse because we all know in the Earth Prime comics they have issue 2. He said issue 2 is on their Earth, but the Superman we see, which is a retired one with a full beard, out plowing the field with his shirt open, that basically told them, "No, I won't help you." So basically, still the weak Superman that we've known. Basically, they confirmed that, oh, yeah, Earth Prime Superman never got any better. He's just,
No, but the whole point of that last issue was that they were not meant to help.
I know, but it's still dumb.
Like, in that case, it makes Barry weak as well because he didn't help.
It's still dumb. It's still dumb. They didn't have to rub it in our faces even more.
Radical Z here. I went to a timeline that had a PS5. Is that because people still having trouble? I haven't tried to get a PS5 in 8
I've told the story about that when I just randomly rang up. I was like, oh yeah, I'd like to pre-order the PS5. Didn't realize there was this massive rush for it at the time. Then when that's sweet, found it like half an hour later that no one could buy one. I just casually went and pre-ordered. Didn't even realize they were going to be out of stock for like 7 years after.
That's just wild. All right,
to be honest though, it hasn't really been worth it because I still haven't played one game that's just specifically been made for the PS5.
Right,
that's been mind blowing.
I haven't played my PS5 since Christmas.
Christmas is not far away. Eric, get your Santa Claus on.
I know.
We'll be dressing up soon.
Stuff.
Lance, would you want to be an elf? We are taking Canada Graphs as Rudolph. He's already taken the spot. So,
oh no,
Ben. I think Ben is Mrs. Claus this year. I think he's in rotation.
No,
if anyone's the Scrooge, it would be me. So,
well, I'm thinking I might be Jack Frost. What do you think about that one, Eric? Do you think Jack Frost with me, or maybe I can be Santa Claus this year because you were
I've
hopeless
never
last
seen
year?
Jack Frost wearing a hoodie, so I don't know.
No, I can do the Unabomber version if you want.
Yeah.
Maybe that can be
God,
Jack
please
Frost
don't.
ruins Christmas.
Let's not do that. All right.
Actually,
so the next stuff
Unabomber with
we had-
Santa. That's a
We're not
that's a
talking
dark
about that.
twist.
We're stop mentioning that word. We're not going to talk about that. Second up is the first set of interludes we had this season, but according to Eric Wallace, it's interludes part 2. That's what it was listed as, I think.
What?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh no, he did like interlude 2. Like
yeah,
it's
like it's the second. It's the second interlude, according to him.
Well, wasn't that the
So
third?
is he basically considering like interludes now their own graphic novel?
That's what he confirmed.
Yeah,
like,
so
this
interlude 1 was
back in
13,
season
14 last season. So interlude 2 is 6 and 7, then interlude 3 is 16 and 17.
Yes.
But if we're thinking about it this way, if he started in season 6, was the whole Love is a Battlefield stuff, the Grodd episode, were those interludes?
They're not listed as interludes.
Yeah, because that was the issue with season 6, because the story was still going on. The Mirror Master story had already started. So I think that's why and I wouldn't count them as interlude either, because they were, still had because that was the issue with the Mirror Master thing. It was a side thing for like 3 episodes before it became the main thing. That was probably the weird thing with the Mirror Master stuff, but they did the cool Barry stuff outside of Lover's Battlefield during that time. So you couldn't count as an interlude because you'd be mixing it with a graphic novel. It'd be really confusing.
True, but I mean, that's technically what they did this year too.
Did they?
Yeah,
towards the end, yeah. The last interludes did have like important stuff in them. So
it was 16, 17 because you had 15.
Yeah.
But
we know he said they weren't interludes after he said they were interludes.
Yeah,
so,
and the thing is, they're online, right? But actually, on the things, they're actually classified as interlude 3, which is those.
But they were never meant to exist going into the season.
Right.
That was the thing. They were obviously late additions.
So we have the 2 episodes in the first of the interludes in season 8 are the bottle episode with Nora and Bart, setting up how they had to restore some problems with the timeline. My only issue with this is I don't think it ever amounted to anything, right? It didn't. None of that came back this season.
Yeah, Queen came back.
Well, I mean, there was that, but I mean, I don't think anything they did affected anything, right? Nothing they did changed anything that they didn't fix in that episode.
Maybe that's what sets up Eddie being touched by another speedster, sets him up to become.
I thought it was just an episode that was based on that tease from the picture of them at the end of last season. That's what I thought it was, or the end of Armageddon, I should say. I don't know.
I think the issue with that is that it picks up at the end of season 7.
Yeah.
And then they go to the future, and then everything's sort of messed up as soon as they get there, and then they go back in time. But then with Armageddon picked up 6 months after the end of season 7.
True.
So technically that episode, in the eyes of like Bart and Nora, takes place before Armageddon, if that makes sense. Ben's arriving. Here we go.
You could also say that it's catch up. You could also say that it set up Jay Garrick just being the future version all the time.
Maybe. Then we had the episode with Barry and Kramer at CCPD where she figured out his identity because of that whole battle. And I think didn't that episode have some Frost stuff in it as well? I believe it was like there was a Frost storyline in that episode.
Did it?
What?
In the episode about CCPD, didn't they go to like out to eat or something with Caitlin? Was that in that episode?
That was
I'm
in
just
that
reading
episode.
the synopsis on IMDb, and it says Caitlin learns a valuable lesson while out with Snow and Mark.
Because that was before the beginning of the next one. Because remember, we have that whole setup about them being there before Jocko, the hotness shows up.
If you say that again, Eric, I will leave.
All right, so then we have the by the way, I know we've talked about them before, but I think that neither of those interludes were bad. I don't think they were as good as Armageddon, but I don't think they were bad episodes. I think that for me, the weaker of the 2 was the Bart and Nora one, just because it was kind of
not eventful.
It was just their own little adventure.
Like a backdoor pilot.
The only thing it really sets up is Fast Track, but they never really call back to it too much. Like you get
because that was the Avery episode.
But you get Mina and 19, I think, say Avery. Like she answers the phone and says Avery.
Yeah. All right, so we have Asher with a $10 super chat. We should have known based on how Earth Prime pretty much told Bart and Nora to handle it themselves. Superman and Lois Clark would never sit on the sidelines, especially when asked for help. I guess talking about the comic books there that you were referencing, Lance, how
that's
just kind of chilling.
That just makes it depressing still that Earth Prime Superman just likes to be lazy
and work on the farm.
He basically turned into Smallville Superman.
Yeah.
Like, why are you showing up to the watchtower? Everybody suited up, but you're wearing your flannel.
Yeah. There we go. Honestly, I'll also say that I think it's really wild to me now that Smallville is more connected to the Arrowverse than Superman and Lois is.
Oof.
You know, they're going to try to give us a crossover. Give us a crossover. Watch.
Technically, I mean, I know everyone's saying it's not part of the Arrowverse, and Earth Prime, it's not Earth Prime, but it's still part of the Arrowverse, because so is Smallville and all the other ones.
In what sense? Like, what do you mean?
They're all part of the Arrowverse, because they're all connected through being part of the multiverse.
Now, see, I've had this argument before, and that's where I have an issue with it. If you're going to say that is part of the Arrowverse, then Zack Snyder's Justice League is.
Yeah.
Well, Ezra Miller was in the.
But not the Ezra from Zack Snyder's Justice League. That was the Ezra connected to the new DC universe, not the one from the actual Snyderverse.
Well, no, that was the Ezra before the assaults happened. So that's the difference there.
What I'm saying is, there's a lot of properties that have not explicitly crossed over onto Earth Prime.
I mean, Titans, Doom Patrol.
Right. So Titans is part of the multiverse, the DC multiverse, but it's not part of the Arrowverse. So
I consider it is when it showed up on Crisis.
They were never on Earth Prime.
But it was part of Crisis, which means it's part of their multiverse.
So was Birds of Prey, but that's not part of the Arrowverse either.
But it's part of the multiverse that the Arrowverse has created.
No, the multiverse is all of the properties, not just the Arrowverse. All Arrowverse did with that was it brought them together into one singular multiverse. Like, Crisis was supposed to merge everything into one, but we know that didn't happen because there's other shows that still exist. If like, that would be saying that now...
You know what it's like.
No, let me flip this around.
Okay, you go.
That would be saying that, like, the Grant Gustin Flash is also part of Titans. But it's not, because Titans is its own separate thing, just like the Arrowverse shows are their own separate thing.
So you know what it's like? So you have the DC multiverse, which is what we're really referencing. Right. But it's like going to Subway. So you go to Subway, you have your lettuce, you have your cucumber, you have your pickles, you have your grated carrot, whatever it is. They're all the different Earths of the multiverse. But the Arrowverse is your sandwich and which ingredients you're picking to put inside. So you're picking the Earths that are visiting Earth Prime, which is the Italian herb and cheese footlong. If you choose any other bread, you're an idiot. Italian herb and cheese is the one to go for.
Let me just say this: there is no such thing.
I like flatbread.
Lance, leave. Seriously, whenever I see someone get flatbread,
there is no such thing as
whenever I see that. Seriously,
there's no such thing as the Arrowverse multiverse. That makes no sense whatsoever. It's just the multiverse. There's no such thing as an Arrowverse multiverse. That doesn't even make sense.
It kind of does, because if you think about it, the Arrowverse multiverse was a multiverse.
Supergirl on another
Earth.
Don't shake your head.
No,
I disagree with that. You had Gypsy. You know, you had all those other characters that Flash went to visit.
When Supergirl and the other shows crossed over, they were crossing over with the Supergirl verse. Like, that is her world, that is her universe, and everything that happens on her world is considered part of the Supergirl world. The only reason we get confused about it is the Arrowverse has a lot of characters in it. That's the only reason why. And Supergirl did cross over with them. But I never considered Supergirl to be an actual Arrowverse show until Crisis happened. And then that was like, okay, so now Supergirl is literally part of the Arrowverse. Before that, she was part of an extended multiverse of shows that were connected to the Arrowverse.
When they did the Crisis on Earth X.
Yeah, you could say extended Arrowverse with the shows that have crossed over, but a multiverse of the Arrowverse?
So when they did Invasion, Crisis on Earth X, Elseworlds, you went, okay, it's an Arrowverse crossover in brackets plus Supergirl.
That's how I thought of it, yes.
You've never told us this before.
Because it was never an issue before.
You're saying that none of the shows are part of the Arrowverse because only Arrow is in the Arrowverse because you said there's
Arrow,
a
Flash, Legends of Tomorrow were all Arrowverse shows.
How do you decide they are and then all
because
of the other
they were on the same
planet?
They were on the same Earth.
See, Eric, this is how I feel when I'm ganged up on. How do you like it? How do you like it?
I don't care. It's just
you seem to care.
I see your point. I do see your point, Eric. I still disagree with it.
Well, what do you call Stargirl? Because they have the whole Jake Garrett connection.
Well, here's the thing: Stargirl's on the CW, but nobody calls Stargirl Arrowverse, right?
Yes.
Nobody called Black Lightning Arrowverse, right?
Yes, they did.
They did. That was the thing.
No, they Black Lightning. No. It was questionable because people didn't know if Black Lightning was on Earth Prime or not.
See, Eric,
they called it Arrowverse because even before they coined the term CWverse, you just watched my video
because
he was in that trailer.
No, that was a branding thing for the CW. That isn't the way it's actually contained.
But that's what people thought when they did that.
And I'm not going to argue with you on that.
So, Eric, what you're saying is So what you're saying, Eric, is that the CW gaslighted people into thinking these shows were in the Arrowverse.
No, I'm saying that it was a merchandising. It was a merchandising thing. This is why.
Are we being gaslit by Eric?
No,
that's the big question.
When they tried to change it to the CW verse, everybody lost their minds, right? Because it just doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right?
It sounded like Piketty.
But the CW verse is actually a better explanation for all of the DC shows that are.
And if they'd run with that from the very beginning, I think people would have maybe been more tolerant of it.
But the only reason they didn't is because the community established Arrowverse. That's the thing. We started calling things the Arrowverse. The CW never ever actually considered the Arrowverse to be a thing until way late in the game. And then they tried to change it when Arrow ended to the CW verse.
I disagree with that.
That's what Superman and Lois. They were considering it Arrowverse until they just changed it at the last minute.
And I would agree with that. We all thought they were on the same planet, but we found out they were not.
Okay, so this is going to be like no one's going to agree here. Eric, feel free to go off camera and twerk to let all the energy out and all the pent up frustration. Because I'll
stand by because this will be the last thing I say about it because I know we all have different opinions about this, but I'll just try to make it very clear here.
To be honest, I don't care. I'm just liking the argument. I'm just jumping fuel.
It's hilarious to me.
The problem is that the Arrowverse for me, and this is how I nail it down. This is the easiest way for me. Is any show that exists on the same Earth in the Arrow universe. Like Arrow show, what Earth is that on, and what heroes exist on that same world with Arrow. Outside of that, I consider them to be their own separate things.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the question in a different way. Why isn't it called the Flashverse then? Because he's on that Earth.
Some people do call it the Flashverse.
No, they don't.
There's a whole channel called Flashverse here on YouTube.
Just because they're wrong doesn't make it right.
So my point
but it still doesn't mean that no one's saying it.
Legends verse.
Because no one ever
but here's the thing. But here's the thing. How many people say the Earth is flat?
Verse. Why does no one call it the Earth One verse? They call it Arrowverse because Arrow started it all.
Well, because Earth One doesn't exist anymore.
But even back then, no one called it the Earth One verse.
Because we didn't know the designation.
Well, also, technically, Minor Alpha Lance, I think Arrow was the first show to air an episode of Post-Crisis. So technically, it would still be the Arrowverse.
So that's the only reason I designated that way. But the reason why I say Arrowverse multiverse doesn't make any sense because that would assume that you have the multiverse here. And then inside the multiverse, you have another bubble that's consolidated, which then would not make it part of the multiverse. It would split and be two different things. And that's not what we're seeing here.
Do you have to get the whiteboard out?
Or the clear board like they use on Flash?
Or a chalk. Actually, can we go retro chalkboard?
Maybe. We
now,
could.
I do have a question though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
speaking of the multiverse, you know how they tried to shoehorn in.
So show me on the board where they go.
They tried to shoehorn
just scribble and put some numbers up there. Go ahead, Lance.
They tried to shoehorn in the Black Lightning's Before Crisis episode. They tried to shoehorn in that there was a Pierce family in Freeland on Earth 1 and on the original Earth 2. How did y'all feel about that? I've been thinking about that.
Was that the one where like that was an Earth one where like was it like that Jefferson got arrested? Was
yes.
it?
She got.
I remember it. I remember it like vaguely.
Yeah, and then Odell shot him and everything.
First of all, that whole segment was controversial AF. Like people hated that because they were using real footage from stuff that really happened, and I was like,
no, it wasn't that the Breonna Taylor.
Well, it was all that same
episode.
It was all around that same time. They were.
It was all around that same time frame. But this was the season before.
Yeah.
And they did the whole where Jen got messed up because of the red sky, so they tried to say, "Oh, yeah, it was a Jefferson on Earth 1 and 1 on Earth 2." But I'm like, that's a little too late for that.
Yeah,
like they're dead. So that's how you say they're dead. Okay, they can be dead, but now this main Jeff is taking their place. It's weird.
Right. No, that was weird. It was really weird. All right. So Radical Z with a $5 super chat. I think Eric will try to tie up any loose ends that actually do reverse flash. No, I don't. I think any hope for a reverse flash storyline, we should keep it very thin from here on out because I believe that what they did with this season was they tried to wrap up all of that. And if we get anything related to reverse flash, think of it as a gift. That's all I got to say about that.
Only Eric Wallace will give us a season-long villain and split it up into 2 parts.
I mean, maybe, yeah.
That is hilarious because he always said he hates that. He doesn't like to do it. But then you turn around and you do it.
Yeah. Let's see. We had another super chat here. Quindolin with a $1.9 super chat. You think Diggle will have a decent role in season 3? Talking about Superman and Lois. That's the next after party. We're going to dive into that, but I do believe Diggle will have a storyline with John Henry in next season.
Will he have a different hairstyle and outfit choice?
I'm thinking Mohawk. I'm thinking like Mr. T Mohawk. Like,
does this one have the 2 kids, or does he just have no kids?
Oh,
that's a good question.
Does he have Lila?
Yeah, he did mention her. Yeah, he did mention her. I don't know if they're together. But she works at Argus. He did mention her name. So
what if they're like cousins on this earth?
Ooh, we're not doing that one. That's not.
Or what if it's just like, so they're maybe not married, but it's like a hot, scandalous office romance. And that's like a subplot.
Maybe. Martin here. Good to see you again, Martin, with a 99 super chat. I know people love to use that one scene in season 2 where Joe tries to kill Earth 2 Harry thinking he was Wellsabard, and people were saying he was out of character for not allowing Barry to let Thawne die. But there was there's more here, right?
There's 3 of them.
Oh, is there? Okay, let me make sure I get them all. Wait, where's that one at?
Well, there's next month's giveaway.
There was a similar situation in season 2, episode 11, where Barry was chasing Matt's version of Thawne, the younger Eobard. But I remember Barry was speed punching him, and while he was doing that, Joe said on the intercoms, let's see here. Barry, you got to stop. Bear, don't kill him. Just bring him in. If you believe me, go watch the episode. He said that he wasn't out of character. Okay, so let me go back to the first super chat so I can kind of see where this all started. I know people love to use the season 2 where Joe tries to kill Earth 2 Harry, thinking it was Wellsbard. People saying he was out of character for not playing. Oh, so we're talking about Joe. This is about Joe then, right? Joe being out of character.
People tried to say he was out of character for telling him not to kill. I think it was just a reflex thing in season.
Yeah, because we're talking about how he acted with Thawne, I guess, previously, and didn't want to like let Barry back in Armageddon. I think is what we're talking about.
I mean, I get that, but it's also Joe has grown a lot since season 2. So I mean, I really wouldn't compare season 2 Joe, who was literally always in cop mode, just getting used to this greater world of superheroes and doppelgangers, and I thought this man just died. You know, Joe was different back then, so I wouldn't really compare the 2 and listen to the weirdos who are trying to say he's out of character because, well, this is who Joe is now. He's not going to suggest that his kids just outright kill somebody.
Oh, okay.
That was just a reflex back then.
Right. I would say it shows growth as a character. Like, it's not out of character, it's just that he's changed as a character. Right? That's what
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Gary with the 1-9 super chat, is the Flash getting delayed later than is February confirmed? I didn't see a date for that.
Well, based off Stargirl's premiere date, you'd think it's January that Flash is coming out.
Yeah. So it might be earlier than February, Gary.
What a flip of the script.
Yeah, it might be earlier.
Is that
January next time?
Is that a Piccolo Funko Pop, Lance?
Yes.
Okay, just wondering.
All of them are facing the right direction today because his kids came in
What
and
were they
flipped them all
oh,
around.
did they flip them around?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they pulled them all the way out the packaging. I was so mad. All the way out the packaging.
Jeez. Naruto with the $5 super chat. What if Superman and Lois introduces Supergirl and then Supergirl gets her show and people like it? No, that will not happen.
The
But
CW, well, actually, I wouldn't put it past the CW to do 2 different Supergirl shows.
so here's my thing, though. I think it is possible we'll see another Supergirl on that show on Superman and Lois. I just don't think they'll do.
Will we
spin-off
get the
of
boob window? Will it be Power Girl?
Power Girl? I don't know. I have no idea.
The infamous window.
All right, so let's talk a bit about the Deathstorm graphic novel called, what was it, Death Revisited, I think was the name of it.
That's a dumb name.
Yeah, Death Revisited. So we have the Hotness storyline.
Oh, yeah.
Which I thought was actually really good. I was shocked at how good that was, considering the character annoyed me a lot back then.
Well, he redeemed him.
Yeah. But then a lot of that
Someone.
graphic novel was very slow dialogue heavy episodes, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And this was where we started seeing Iris getting split off from the rest of the team. And then we had the storyline with the new meta, Phantom Girl and Sue in Coast City. And then obviously the Caitlin and Ronnie storyline when it came to Deathstorm and back at square one, as like 3 episodes in a row. We're back at square one. We're back at square one. It was basically just a complete, return to form with that. What did we think of Deathstorm as the quote unquote big bad of this graphic novel? Yes, no, good, bad. General thoughts on that?
I thought he was pretty freaking cool. My biggest issue with that storyline is that I just felt like, I think it was 3 episodes of Black Flame build up when it should have only been 2.
Okay. That makes
I
sense.
agree.
And that was probably the only issue I really have with it. I think the way that they resolved it was fine. It made sense. They wrote it in a way which it made sense. People might not be happy that was the way that it happened, but the way it was built up through the writing, it made sense that was the conclusion. I'm just curious to see if there was any intention for something to go forward from that, because Eric Wallace keeps saying, oh, well, I've technically planted a seed to do something from Blackest Night and continue doing it and stuff like that.
Which is weird because Deathstorm is a big part of that storyline. And
well, Deathstorm is a big follow-on from Blackest Night.
Right, but I mean, like, that came first now. So
yeah, so you're sort of like flipping it around. It could still work, but I wish he would have not said that could have potentially been a planting of a seed, because it makes me wonder, oh, so it's unfinished.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of confused whether there's another step to that is going to come, but I don't know.
Anybody else any opinions on Deathstorm as a character? Any thoughts?
I agree with Paigey. I thought the overall design of Deathstorm was great. Too lingering. It lingered too long on the whole Black Flame aspect and trying to figure out who it really was, and the little apparitions that he would show up. But overall, I thought it was cool.
Right. Candice, any thoughts on Deathstorm as a storyline?
It was fine. Like, if I had to rate all of the parts of the season, for an actual like villain arc, I think it's probably the one out of the 3 that least caught me, but still fine.
Yeah. I like the special effects in this particular graphic novel. I thought the Deathstorm was very comic book accurate. And I love that about it. I didn't like that the mouth didn't move, though. When I went back and watched bits of it, I was like, I guess they could have done a little more with the mouth moving around or whatever.
Wait, can you try and say a sentence with your just teeth together?
No.
Hello, my name is Eric, and I do YouTube. You sound like you're doing an Italian impression or something.
Yeah, you would for sure.
Doesn't sound right.
But you know what? You know what else this graphic novel did? It introduced the overreacting Cecile storyline and her
Psyduck. You mean Psyduck?
Yeah, her refusal to help with the Hotness's case. Yet she spends the rest of the season reading people without permission, overstepping people's personal space, and then ultimately stealing people's powers and not caring about it.
And then rewarded in the end with a new power.
Cecile has to be the most convoluted, backwards character, and Danny Nicolette is just loving it. She can't think her character is well written and liked. She cannot think that unless Paigey is sending her emails right now talking about it.
Oh no. No.
See that if you're wondering, that's
Oh, no.
Cecile in season 9.
Oh,
That's the
no.
evolution. That's going to be the animation's going to be good. The CGI to have that going on.
It's
Yeah.
interesting because for a large portion of this season and last season, including people on this panel, have called Allegra the worst character on the show.
She still is. She still is.
No, Cecile is
No.
far past her.
No,
Far
no.
past her.
There's a difference. Allegra is easily the worst character on the show. Cecile is the most painful character on the show. There's a
Which makes
difference.
her the worst.
It's a difference. Like on Arrow, Donna Smoke was never the worst character on the show.
Oh,
she was the
no,
most
I was
painful
about to
character
ask
on the
you
show.
that.
No, she was also the worst.
No, she was the
Who are
most
you taking,
painful.
though? Donna Smoke or Cecile?
In like a head-to-head?
If you
Like,
had to
in
take
what
one of
way?
them on a date.
Well, probably Cecile.
or something.
If it was a date, I'm probably taking Cecile.
Let me ask you a question. How could you even like? I have to give it to Joe. Like, how are you dating?
Well,
and
to
living
be
with someone
honest,
who's doing that
I
all
think
the time?
Joe's punching above his weight. Like Jesse L. Martin is still a handsome man, but I mean Daniel Nicolette does look very good for age. So
Yes. Okay.
especially for them to be in a relationship. So he's definitely punching above his weight.
I
It's
will
like
say.
it's
go
like
ahead.
no, I won't say it. It's all good. Move on.
So for me, I think Allegra's biggest problem is she's boring.
Yeah.
I think that's Allegra's problem as a character. She's just not very interesting.
And
I
I
think-
agree with you on that, but what's worse, being boring or being infuriating to watch?
Well, that's the problem is that I think Danielle is a much more robust actor on the show. Like she can do more things. It's just what they're giving her is the problem, I think. And I don't know if Allegra is
Again,
capable of doing that.
I'm not comparing
Yeah.
Danielle and Kayla. I'm comparing Allegra and Cecile.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that there's clearly a reason why Allegra is not hitting the mark. And I don't know if it's story or acting. I don't know which one it is. I don't know. It's hard for me
It
to.
might be a little bit of both.
So I don't have an issue with Kayla. I think Kayla's great. She always promotes the show and stuff. I just don't know if what they're asking her to do is being conveyed properly on the show. I don't know. All right. So Naruto here at the $5 super chat. In the show, did they ever explain how graphic novels 2 and 3 connect to the fallout of Armageddon?
Of course not.
Well, I think 3 connected because of the Wells of Bard stuff, obviously.
Well,
I
and
don't know
even
about
towards
2.
the end when they were fighting, Iris references that this is like what Armageddon was.
It was during 3 or
finale.
2. Yeah.
During the finale, she did say something about it. Didn't she say it could like lead to?
They're destroying.
Armageddon or
They're
something?
destroying this. If he keeps going, then they're going to destroy the city. It could lead to Armageddon. That's what Iris says in the.
I don't know if 2
finale.
necessarily ties to it or not, though.
2. No. But I don't think it was.
Were they
I don't think
supposed
there
to?
was
Did Eric
I don't
Wallace
think-
say they were supposed to?
I don't think that it doesn't seem like there was an intention to, unless Eric Wallace actually said it.
I
But
feel
then
like that's
I can't
something.
remember
he's-
him saying
I can't remember him saying it, but that sounds like something that he was.
It sounds like he would try and backtrack and go, "Oh, it was connected all along."
Yeah, yeah.
How? Oh, I don't know, but it was.
Yeah.
Just go along with it, please.
All right. So the
You have
next.
to remember.
So the next three episodes were considered interlude 3, according to the page to Wiki.
You're gonna say to the page.
No, to the page. I was gonna say the page, but I'm referencing Wiki specifically. So the first up was the funeral for Frost, which didn't feel like it was a separate episode because that technically would have been part of the Deathstorm storyline. So I don't know why that one was separate from that.
I don't know
totally
why.
sure.
No, I'm the only reason I can think of is because Deathstorm actually wasn't in the episode. That's the only reason I can think of, but I treat that as like a part of that graphic novel.
That's a terrible reason.
Then we had the Into the Still Force episode with Nora, where Barry learns how to use another force, and mentions Max Mercury, which never paid off this season.
You mentioned
So-
Wally
Shout-
as well. That never
Shout
paid
out!
off.
Shout out to Daniel Nicolette again.
Yeah. Do you think that was a mistake for him to mention Max that they weren't going to pay it off this season?
I mean,
They didn't mention Chronarch last season and
Yeah.
they haven't used him. So
Yeah, but there's a difference between Chronarch and Max Mercury in regards to the
I'm just
relevance
saying
of
that
the Flash.
they name drop things and they don't intend to either A, ever pay them off, or B, pay them off well down the line.
Yeah.
Red Death.
But to be honest, it's very important to remember that Daniel Nicolette did that interview, I think the week or two leading up to that Still Force episode.
And then they dropped
So
Max's
that was
name. Yeah.
that was in our heads, and then they mentioned Max, and it all just built up. Oh, he's in the finale. That's meant to be some sort of
But
relevant.
that's on
setup.
you for assuming that. not Daniel Nicolette.
Oh.
Are we going to go back to this last week where we literally exposed? But yeah, we're not. I'm not in a mood to hand out L's. I'm in a good mood. I'm in a happy, positive mood for everyone. We're not handing out L's today, except if Eric steps out of line.
Oh, okay.
Let's
that's
just
a
be
warning.
completely honest. For all we know, it might not have even been Max Mercury. That could have just been a random.
It might have been. It might have been Max
knows.
Power. It might have been Max Power from The Simpsons.
It might have been Max from Stranger Things.
It could have been.
Is.
Is it Max Keebler's big move? It could have been him from that movie. Is that
Maybe.
So many people wouldn't get that reference. I think you have to be my age to get that reference. But anyway,
So then the last one in this interlude was the Barry aging up episode, where a lot of people. I thought it was a good episode. Some people had an issue with it. I thought it was a good episode.
which one?
The Barry aging up episode where he was getting older. I know there were some issues with the story for me, but I think it was pretty good. And I think we all kind of came to the consensus that villain was the one that hacked Chester's computer, right? Is that what we're going with? The villain from that episode was the one that hacked into.
This
I'm
is
assuming
what other
so.
people have tried to tell me, and I'm just like, I don't get the connection, but sure, because they never paid it off, so. Not unless they plan to
I
pay it
think
off
the only
next
connection
season.
we had is that it happened right after that, and he seemed
And
to
that
know.
it was tech involved that directly affected the Flash.
But I think we also agreed, Paigey, that they didn't explicitly state that was what had happened.
yeah, so they neither confirm or deny it. So it could be something for next season.
Yeah.
But it's a random thing. You could have done that. They could have done that hacking in the final episode and just had that be a thing in this episode. And then
It might have
in
left it
episode
up to
19
the
or 20.
final episode, though, because once you get near the end of the season, you don't want to be like introducing a new thing. So you lay it out early so that's out of the way and it's not a thing people are thinking about in the last 2 or 3 episodes. And then next season you come back to it and you'll get the stupid little flashback before the episode starts where they show you the clip from last season and all that stuff that they always do to ruin their spoils.
Also, I want to point out these were the episodes where we were missing Candice, where she wasn't filming during this time. So a lot of these episodes, I actually have in my notes here,
I missed her so much.
that the Iris storyline just paused.
Hold on.
What?
Was that Lance taking the piss? Just
What?
you go, I miss Candace so much. I miss Iris so much.
No, I honestly,
Just
I did,
randomly
though.
slotted it in.
It felt weird. It's like, how can you just? It's so dumb. How can you just say, "Oh, my kid says she's fine in the future"?
No, it wasn't
does
that.
that?
Oh yeah, they say that she's alive. Or
does that?
something
Well,
like that.
the other thing is, it's like the storyline literally paused. It was like it stopped and then it just picked up again.
Can we all just agree that it is? I don't care what their reason was. It was just weird as hell that for 4 weeks nobody mentioned her.
Right.
No, nobody was like, we haven't found Iris. Let's focus on Iris. Never.
You know what it
What are you
was?
telling people? Like,
I think they knew it was weird because because even Eric Wallace sort of tried to downplay it or sort of like address like the elephant in the room. And I think they were always going to fall back on the excuses that the contract was set up that way. If it ever had to be explained that way and it brought up to be such a big issue, that's what they'll fall back on.
You could still discuss her off. You could still discuss her while she's off screen.
But we would be complaining about that as well.
Maybe.
Because it's annoying. It's
It
annoying
just-
going,
okay, so let me put it this way.
this is
It felt
the...
weird to me that
it's-
that Barry was having the time of his life.
That was the
while
odd thing.
Iris wasn't around.
Yeah,
Like,
the guy that's supposed to be the paragon of love, and his like lightning rod is like flying off in nowhere land.
you pulled
And,
that one out, the Paragon of Love. You pulled that one. I didn't even think about that. That's so good.
and he's just like, hey, isn't it nice today? Like, that was weirder than mentioning her and having the awkwardness.
and then the whole timeline of we'll get to that, but that whole timeline of
We'll
where
talk
she
about that at
actually
the
was,
end. Yeah.
that was so dumb. It made no
Yeah, we'll
sense.
talk about that briefly at the end.
chronologically.
But it's so funny. Laura had a couple comments here I want to address. She said, "Does Barry know Chester is live streaming from Star Labs?" I don't know. Probably not.
He probably should.
And she mentions, did Iris ever play D&D? You know what got me together this season? When they were having a good time, like sitting around the table playing D&D, and no mention of Iris. Nobody cares. They're having their drinks, they're eating their snacks, playing D&D. Everybody's in costumes.
Getting
No
dressed
mention
up.
of Iris whatsoever.
Where was baby Jenna during this D&D game as well? Because both parents were downstairs having the time of their life.
High strength cough medicine. I think just knocked out the child just straight up. That's probably what happened.
How does that even happen? I don't know. All right, we got some super chats here. Martin, once again, swooping in with the super chat. Thank you so much, Martin, for supporting the channel as always and doing the timestamps. Does anyone actually believe Eric Wallace when he says he intends or has plans on bringing back Zoom? For me personally, I'll never believe that, and I know people get excited to hear that. But this is the continuation one as well.
Yeah.
Wait, where's the other one?
It's a fair bit down.
Okay, I see. Yeah. But like I've said before, he thought season 8 was the last. Why is he trying to bring back big bads when he doesn't even know if he's entering into a potential final season of The Flash? He should leave those characters alone.
Hey, Martin did the Flash.
So I will cover interviews with Eric Wallace, but I think from now on, I'm going to start them out with take all of this
preface,
with the biggest grain of salt you possibly can.
Preface.
Just say
this might
can
be bullshit.
Potentially be a lie.
I've been telling people, I can't even remember when the first time I noticed showrunners lie, but it has been a decade. And I'm constantly telling people, like, showrunners say stuff because they want you, the viewer, to keep coming to their show being excited for it. And if they have to lie to you to make you excited for that show, they will do it. Actors do it too, but showrunners, that's literally part of their job.
Well,
to be completely honest, I think he has intentions to bring at least Zoom back. Godspeed's a rough one because I don't think enough people care, but a lot of people want to see Zoom come back. And he went out of his way to bring Ronnie back as well.
Mm-hmm.
I read an interview where apparently Robbie Amel's schedule was really hard.
This is not really Ronnie. They were
to bring Robbie Amell back.
Yeah.
And I read somewhere that his schedule was really hard to work around to bring him back.
Because he's got that show that he's filming for Amazon. So
yeah, and I think he might have been doing a Netflix movie or something. So the fact that they worked around that and went out of their way, I think proves that he has intentions that he wants to fill. And he also mentioned Robbie or Ronnie as a character as well in interviews, I think in season 6. Right. Someone brought them up. So I think he has intentions at least for Zoom. I personally don't know how they're going to do that because they're going to have to address the post-crisis timeline where we saw on the whiteboard they never said that he died. And they've never brought up, I think, Black Flash, at least Hunter becoming Black Flash. Post-crisis.
It would be almost a nightmare to go all the way back to season 2, figure all that out, and then explain post-crisis. That would be really...
So they could say that maybe he never became Black Flash in post-crisis, and Black Flash was already an existing thing.
Right.
And that's what dealt with Eobard in Legends and stuff like that. And then they can just say that maybe he is locked up. He could be in Iron Heights.
Right.
Or maybe Argus, or whatever it is.
So Naruto here with the $5 super chat. This is in reference to the earlier comment. Eric Wallace said at the beginning of the season, Armageddon sets up the 2 big bads for the back half. So I'm wondering if he met Dion and the Negative Forces and Welzabard.
Negative Forces and Eobard, that's what it was.
So that would mean that Deathstorm was not considered one of the big bads from Armageddon.
So was the Armageddon set up for the Negative Forces? Dion saying, I sense negative tachyons and then never going back to it.
I don't know. There's another comment here. Where was it at? Oh, I just lost it. Hold on.
Do you think he's ever listened to what he said after the fact and been like, why'd I do that?
This storyline vanished on the cutting room floor. Whatever happened to Barry training Kramer? Like
whatever
happened to Kramer? Waiting for him.
Kramer didn't even try to help her cops when Eobard Thawne was murdering them on live television.
Yeah.
You know what? On Saturday, I might run into Carmen Moore. I'll ask her if she's got any training from him.
Yeah. Multi-topic talk with the $2 super chat. I'm wondering if Eric Wallace remembers baby Jenna. Well, she's been addressed a couple of times, but for the most part,
a Batwoman backpack.
Okay, so I want to mention 2 things, and we've talked about this before. I don't want to see a bunch of little kids on these shows anyway, so I don't really care if they're not there. But the fact that they even introduced them in the first place is weird. Like, why did you make this character a thing if you were never going to use her?
The issue is that it's fine having the character there if they wanted Cecile to get pregnant and Joe and Cecile to have a kid, that's fine. The issue is that we spend so much time at Joe's house.
Yeah.
That's the issue. If we were seeing Joe at CCPD or at Star Labs and that's where all the Joe stuff was happening,
we don't see Jenna around.
Yeah, that'll be fine. We can say, oh, she's at daycare and on the way back to the house, they pick her up.
I find it also weird. They decided to do a pregnancy storyline with Cecile and Joe when, like, Danielle Nicolette's never been pregnant at any time that I'm aware of, but, like, Danielle Penn Baker's now been pregnant twice and they didn't do a storyline where she got pregnant instead. Like, that would have just worked itself into the story and they didn't bother to do any, like...
I guess she's still dancing somewhere. I don't know.
No, I have a theory. She ran off with Ralph.
I have a better theory. You know how she was a Kid Flash?
I mean, Ralph was the #1 client at the strip club. So
that's true.
But I mean,
she was like a Kid Flash super fan.
By the way.
So she's following Kid Flash around the world, you know, to his Buddhist retreats. I know that he cannot reveal his identity, and it's making it awkward that, okay, you're kind of like my sister, but you know, Eric Wallace doesn't seem to care about that stuff.
Where's all this incest coming from? Why are we these past couple of weeks? I feel like we're getting Sweet Home Alabama way too often. This was never a thing.
That's how the Flash started out. We really
Eric Wallace.
Oh, there we go.
Is Eric Wallace ingraining this in our heads? Well, not my head. I'm not saying it. Lance is saying it.
I know.
All right, and Eric's backing it up.
I'm not backing anything up.
In more ways than one.
No. Last graphic novel was It's All Negative. That was the actual title of the last.
Wait, that's what it was called?
Title.
It's All Negative is the title of the last graphic novel.
God.
It wasn't all negative, though, because you brought in the positive. Like, couldn't he just have said, he could have just called, stop naming the graphic novels. They're all terrible.
Here's the thing. We start out this graphic novel with the Allegra episode, which was initially supposed to be a part of the interlude, but then it got included into this graphic novel, rightfully so, because it had some good stuff with Barry in it. Like, so it wasn't literally just all Allegra. The Allegra stuff was awful, but the Barry stuff
they've
was really
included
good.
the Allegra episode in.
And
I guess they have
negative.
to.
Yeah.
I guess they have to. R.I.P. the Dream if you want to go back and, I guess, be obliging to.
And then we had the Man in the Yellow Tie that reintroduced the new Eobard and brought Welsabard back into the fold. The storyline also set up Mina Dalwin, the negative forces. All of that sort of happens. And then we get the last two episodes of -1, -2 with the battle against the negative forces, the positive forces, and the Power Ranger version of Welsabard and Barry.
Can you sing the Power Rangers theme song?
And Care Bears, yeah. No, we're not going to do that.
Which one?
Yeah,
probably Mighty Morphin, probably OJ.
I like Final Charge better.
Go Power Rangers.
There we go, demonetized. I hated that suit. I know we've talked about this before. I think the suit was awful. They should have just used the same yellow suit.
You know what they could have done? Why didn't they? Obviously they wanted to make it look like Eobard was corrupted. Why not do to the yellow reverse Flash suit what they did to Barry when he was Dark Flash in season 6?
I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing.
Eric Wallace likes the whole BDSM look.
Or he had extra budget and went, we can make a suit.
I heard a rumor that the reason why the cowl was done the way it was is because they had not confirmed if they were going to use Welsabard or Matt Lesher yet, so they left it open so both of them can wear the suit. That's
really?
one of the things
Who told you that?
It was posted on Reddit from somebody that worked on production.
On
production.
Eric, I wasn't going to hand out L's and you walked straight into it.
The only reason I'm even saying it,
you opened the door, got on the floor. Everybody did the dinosaur.
The reason I'm even saying it is because otherwise that mask looks unfinished.
Maybe it is unfinished.
No, you know what it looks like.
But I don't think that would have worked for both of their head shapes.
I think it was because it was plastic, wasn't it? And it was just like it was like a helmet, like season 5 suit.
But they could have done the same jawline with that same material that they used for the other head pieces. I mean, I don't see why they had to do it the way they.
Hold on, I got the number for Eric Wallace.
It gave me Flash season 5 vibe.
Well, that's I think that was what it was. It's like it was like a plastic, like that sort of like a harder thing where it's not like it just doesn't stretch over the head like the other things.
And we're not going to talk about any of the setups for next season because we'll save that for another video where we'll go over talk about predictions. So anyway,
stretching out the content.
We got like 6-7 weeks of content.
Yeah, you've got to fill the week somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, are you gonna? Actually, we'll leave it till the end. I'll let you
Okay.
finish, Eric. I won't be rude. I won't be rude.
No, I'm just saying, like, what did we think of this graphic novel as a whole? This whole storyline with the negative, positive forces. Did we like it? Did we not like it? Yeah. What was everybody's general thoughts on these 4 episodes? No one has any thoughts on it.
Well, I was gonna wait.
See if someone else would speak.
I thought it was one of the, it was pretty strong. Has major plot holes, but it was entertaining every week. It didn't put me to sleep.
I think the issue was that it had really strong points, but then
some less strong points.
It had some low points.
Some less strong points. That might be.
I think Levi put it best. It was fun but very messy.
Yes, that's true.
I don't even think it was that. I think it was just that you had the really strong points that were the Flash stuff, but then you had stuff like Cecile, which really confuses me because that was like episodes back in planning, and I don't know why, if this was meant to be a final season, why the fuck you would include that.
Yeah.
That's like, you know what that gives me? Bringing Mia Smoke into Arrow season 8 vibes. That's what it was like.
The final season, why did they bring them in? The Tinya Wazo stuff.
But that was to get
final season.
But that was for Iris's sake. That was to get Iris disconnected from the main story. So then when she went away, it wasn't overly.
But it didn't even have any type of like exciting wrap up. It didn't connect in the end to anything. I was like, oh, here's a mom back.
I don't think it was meant to. I think it was literally a means for Iris not to be in the main storyline with everything else.
I have a better question.
It felt like just a pointless hour of our life we will never get back.
What's your question, Lance?
Why on God's green earth would Eric Wallace think, hey, I don't know if this is going to be our final season, but let me get rid of Iris for half of it?
Yeah. Well, we do know that she said that she agreed in her contract to be gone for 4 episodes.
Yeah, but like we keep saying, that's all fine and dandy. Nobody's ever in every single episode, especially the leads. But could have been a better story. Could have been spread out.
Right, I was going to say also.
But I think that's the whole point.
The thing about the spread out is you can't spread it out because the reason she wanted that time off is so she could actually leave for an amount of time.
That was the whole point.
A week there, a week here, a week there.
Spreading out would have made the contract pointless.
Yeah.
It had to be that 4. It had to be a bunch of episodes in a row.
According to what she said on her post, is she wanted to give herself the guarantee she would be able to leave if she had to, which meant if we had the same COVID protocols in point, that'd be 2 weeks on one end and 2 weeks on the other end that she would be unavailable, plus the time she was gone. So she would have had to have 6 to 8 weeks off for that time to go away in between. So she's just like, give me the 6 to 8 weeks off. If it works out that I can come back, great. And they're like, oh yeah, we're not calling you back. They basically were like, they were forced into a spot where she was like, I need a block of time off, not a week here, a week there, a week here, a week there,
And I think in the end, when they found out that things weren't going to go back, she was like, I'm available to film. But at that point, it was too late.
It was too late. They've already written and said everything else.
They'd already made their storylines, and they'd probably already budgeted out that money towards other guest stars because they're saving money on her contract doing that.
Once again, it's like when you're at Subway and they accidentally put mayonnaise on. It's too far. It's already on there. Like,
well,
you're just going to scrape it off.
And I didn't think about this the last time we talked about this, but because Lance, you brought up, well, they could just find a way to sort of put her in if they wanted. I had talked about like how they would cut storylines. But the other thing I thought about was anytime she was going to be in a scene, she was going to be in a scene with someone else, which means anything they write for Iris, they'd have to write new stuff for other people too, and then pay them more to do scenes with Iris because they'd already budgeted out how much everybody would be getting paid. So they would have to bring her back in, renegotiate money with her, and then also pay other actors in scenes with Iris and create dialogue for those actors in the scenes. I just think they were like, this isn't going to work.
The way they went about it was the smart. The way they went about it was the right option. I don't know. You can debate it, but the way they went about it was in the current way it was set up back in, I'm assuming, middle of last year in the off season, maybe just before the season started. I'm not too sure. The way in which it was set up and the way that they executed in the season was the easiest way and provided the less risk.
Yes.
Because and obviously, because as you're saying, like they could have written a and B script or A and B scenes or whatever it might be, but you're just opening yourself up to an absolute Pandora's box of just
But
absolute mess.
It was still a Pandora's box of absolute mess,
But that's
because it just didn't connect.
Well, I think I think it's still connected. It just wasn't very well put together because the main person around it, in regards to the solution, wasn't there for a month or whatever it was.
Pause.
Because it's like you take this all the way back to it all the way back to season 7, but you get like 3 different connections in one episode to how it could have possibly connected to season 7, but then you run it back. So we're like, what was she sick with in season? Did she really just have a cold?
The perfect thing is that
we're gonna go ahead, Paige, and then we're gonna answer.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, when you look back at it and you realize that time sickness is so fucking stupid.
Can you say the real name for it for me, real quick?
Temporal sickness.
Is that what they call it?
That's what they called it initially. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm not going along with that. Time sickness, you can live with it. The time sickness sucks balls.
Mm-hmm.
Balls with a Z. With a Z? I don't know, whatever you want to say. They should have just had it that Iris just gets kidnapped. Honestly, it provides less plot holes at the end.
Yep.
People are still going to question her absence and why no one's referencing her. Have it that the negative forces just kidnapped her and went, Barry's going to get angry. He's going to get unstable. This is going to give us an upper hand and it'll still allow us to do what we need to do. The only difference is that when Iris gets quote unquote killed, if that even needs to happen, there's no particles that go up in the air.
Right.
But they could even make it that there's a connection between, because there is, as we saw in season, I guess, quote unquote 6, beginning of 7, that connection to the Speed Force, and that's where the particles come from. They need to do that.
Now, here we go. This, and I'm going to say I am an expert on this story now because I went back and watched every episode that had the temporal sickness in it. So I know all the details. And Naruto says here, what if Negative Dion attacked Iris in season 7 because he can see the future and knew what was coming? Now, the only issue with this is, why didn't he just do everything in season 7 then?
You know why, Eric? Because 8 is great.
Yeah, I guess.
And you need to sometimes go with the rhyming.
That's and the reality is you're giving them a way out of this because they did not know what was going to happen.
They didn't know. You got to remember, just want to remember the contract wasn't in place at that point.
I'm going to say right here, and
I just noticed something. Lance's head has turned into a microphone. Okay, it's back. He's got a head again.
There is a entirely separate video with myself and Buddy where we talk about this in great detail.
Oh, is that released yet? Is that
no? It's coming out.
Oh, talk about a teaser.
We'll talk about it. But I will say that the beginning of all of this and the way this sets up, because of like how it goes down, it actually we notice Iris's absence all the way back in episode 15 of season 7, because that is that awkward episode where Barry has a dream about Nora. And Nora basically just talks to him. And then he calls Iris and says, we're pregnant, which is never mentioned in that conversation with Nora. And then we get this beautiful scene where he goes back to the house and he's on the phone with Iris, one-sided conversation. Then he goes back to the house and he's yelling at her up the stairway. He's like talking to someone that's not even there. That starts in episode 15. And even though it's not specifically about the time sickness, that is literally the reason why I'm mentioning that is because the big theory back then was she was pregnant and that's why it was happening. And that started in episode 15 because that's when Candice was quote unquote like not around on the episode. And then in episode 16, the first time we get any mention of this, it comes completely out of the blue because she's had the sniffles for like 4 episodes in a row now. Dion is talking to Barry in the Still Force because of the Godspeeds going into the Speed Force and siphoning speed from the Speed Force at this point. And he's in the Still Force. And Iris, by the way, odd scene, he's talking to Barry about this. They're having a long-ass conversation. And then Iris just strolls up out of nowhere. Dion didn't mention this to Barry or anything. And Iris strolls up and she explains to Barry that she's sick with this thing they don't understand. And then he tells Barry that if she doesn't stay inside the still force, it will fracture time. That was his exact words. We have to put her, what does he call it, into a pure temporal stream. That's
You
what
love
he said.
using that word temporal.
And he says she has to stay there, but then she doesn't, because guess what the next episode is? It's the episode with Bart and Nora, and she's in the majority of that episode. She comes out into the time vault and then spends the remainder of the episode completely unaffected by the sickness that she has. So I'm telling you for a fact, and there's a lot more in the video that you'll see when it comes out. This was not planned. This was an issue with Candice's availability in season 7 that never got resolved, and then they just turned it into something in season 8 because it doesn't make any sense otherwise. Just so you know.
I have to give you your applause because that I forgot how funny this whole thing is.
She's gonna fracture time, and then she shows up and she's like, "Oh, I'm stabilized," and then the next episode she's gone again. Because remember, we were at the end of the season, and they needed to include her in those episodes, so they just pretended like nothing was going on.
Hey, why did people think that Iris getting pregnant with Nora would make her blip throughout time?
All I know is I remember when we were talking about this last season or in season 8, people that was the theory that people had, is that she was pregnant.
I was like, how does that even make sense?
Well, to be fair, even Eric Wallace didn't even know why he was introducing time sickness. It was just he just introduced it. He's even said that it wasn't meant to be a thing, really. He just
showed up at set one day, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, you don't have a leading actress." And he's like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "She's not here." And he's like, "She's sick."
And the other thing is, if we go by what the forces, the negative forces said, they specifically said in that episode that ever since Eobard was detached from the negative speed force, and from that point on, they had been pulling the strings. So they didn't even go back to address what was going on before that happened. It was bad. Hello, Staggervore. Sorry, it was very ranty before we got into that.
It's been a ranty night.
Gwendolyn, let's talk about how the ball was dropped for all the female characters on this season. The writing for them wasn't good, period, and that needs to be rectified going forward. I will totally agree with you because I thought Iris had a great story at the beginning of the season with CCC Media.
Yeah.
Done.
Well, for episode 1.
Yeah. Well, no, because even before, when we got into the point where the episode before she went to Coast City with Sue, I thought they were setting up something fun with this whole CCC Media thing. And then once she left, bye, CCC Media story's gone because Allegra Shore wasn't there.
And Eric Wallace was talking about she was going to be taking over. I'm like, dude, do you hear yourself talk? Do you know that you helped write these episodes, dude? That's not what happened at all. What is wrong with you?
We saw more of Taylor at CC Media than we did Iris.
And can we be honest, Eric, when he does write these female characters, they're either severely underdeveloped, overdeveloped, not there at all, boring, or extremely annoying. Why is Taylor like that? Nobody's like that in real life.
I disagree. I've met people that obnoxious. I have definitely met people that obnoxious.
Yes. Well, yes. I haven't had the pleasure. Or
don't look at me, Eric, when Lance says that.
but it's just he's like, yeah, I just want to get the most annoying person I could find, and it's like, oh yeah, she's where do I know you from? Oh, what's your name? Mrs. Susan? Oh, you're going to play Taylor. You're going to be great at it.
Yeah.
Dude, she was so annoying. And I'm like, why would Iris hire somebody like that?
So I'm going to say right now, I think Eric writes female characters through the lens of a male writer, or at least the way
it's 100, especially it's the male gaze is very, very common in Eric Wallace's writing, especially when it comes to the romantic angle of stuff as well.
Definitely 100%. All right, so Martin here with another super chat for $19.99. Thank you, Martin. Question for Eric: if Legends was still going on and say season 9 they used Amethyst, sorry, I meant Gold Munet. I'm kidding. I mean Amunet and Goldface is big bads. Would you return to Legends and watch it? I don't know. So the reason why I didn't, well, I watched the end of Legends. Like I actually watched it after it was done. But the reason why I don't review it or talk about it is it's really hard to be critical about shows that don't take themselves seriously, because then what am I reviewing? Did the jokes land? Okay, I guess. I mean, Legends is pretty much a comedy. And I think Doom Patrol in a lot of ways also falls in that category. Both of them have their strong points. I like Doom Patrol a little bit more than Legends. But it's not that I just didn't want to watch them. I just didn't like watching them week to week and reviewing them. So I probably would go back and watch it.
It's hard. It's hard to watch a show that isn't story based week to week.
Right.
It's like it's you know what the thing is. You know how people are saying, "Oh, Stranger Things need to be week to week." No.
Right.
That's a show that needs to be binged because it's not overly story based outside of like certain like one character.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much character based.
So yeah, I
can't do week to week.
Yeah, I don't.
The only show that does it somewhat well week to week, even though I've made it clear it's not my favorite show, is The Boys. The Boys is pretty much character based a lot of the time with a subplot that goes along, and they succeed going week to week.
Yeah.
But there's
by
not
the
many
way,
shows that do that.
Yeah, there might be an extra long finale review on Monday with us when we talk about it, because we're going to have to talk about the whole season too. So that's going to be.
Paige should join just for the funny commentary.
Maybe. All right.
See, someone says season 4 was all about the story.
Commentary?
So someone says season 4. I'm assuming you're saying about Stranger Things. What was the story?
Well, don't
It's all
spoil
about
it.
story. What was the story?
I don't want anybody to spoil it if they haven't seen the finale yet. So.
I haven't even seen season 3 yet, so you'd be spoiling season 4 way ahead of that.
Yeah.
I binge watched everything just based off of Paige and Eric's suggestion, and I loved it.
Stranger Things seasons 1, 2, and 4 I thought were really good. 3 was
Exactly. So the mystery of Vecna.
Yeah.
Who does it relate to?
I don't think we want to say that out loud.
Yeah.
I won't say. It's more just a. I'm asking Daz.
Yeah.
Because he's pretty much confirming what I said.
Yes, but do not spoil that on the
Spoil it.
stream,
I won't
because this
spoil
is
it.
not a stream about that show. So do not do that.
He
Please.
kind of just did.
Yeah.
And
No, I didn't.
Not you. I'm talking about just somebody
Giovanni,
Oh.
obviously. All right, we're gonna move on because I don't like when people do that. All right, so let's talk about. I've got 5 things here I'm gonna cover, then we'll wrap everything up. Or actually, we'll do this, and then we'll have Lance. You can read through the stuff from the Candice interview, but we're not gonna break down each individual thing. I just want you to like read through each thing, and then we'll talk about it at the end. All right, so one thing I want to say is that I liked about this season is it felt more Barry centric in general. I think a lot of that has to do with the time that Candice was away, to be honest, because we got a lot of Barry
Edgy.
episodes. I mean, it's true. Grant was the main
Not
character.
saying you're wrong, just edgy.
And I think also there was a better grasp on what interlude episodes should be, because we got a lot of stuff in the interludes that actually carried through to the main stories of each graphic novel. So for me, I thought it was a much better, like, Barry centric season. Does anybody agree or disagree with that at all?
Well, I think Eric Wallace did listen to the criticism, even though he says he doesn't read the internet. Or at least, I guess, social media.
Because of the whole of showing more Barry.
What was that interview? He said I didn't look at it, but then he thanked people for the response.
It was the Flash podcast with Andy.
Yeah, it was just like, well, which one is it? Anyway, but I think after season 8, season 7, he must have read the criticism, because I feel like he took that, especially the concerns around Barry, and sort of, this is probably the best seasons Barry's had since season 4.
Yes, I'll agree with that. I think it was a really strong Barry season. Naruto, don't worry about it. I wasn't taking that like seriously. I know it was just a joke, but thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. I just thought it was funny because the time sickness storyline, or temporal sickness storyline.
What are you drinking, by the way, Eric? Because you seem to be holding in burps nonstop for the past couple minutes.
It's Sprite, which makes me burp a lot.
It's always
actually.
Sprite.
Yeah. Oh,
So
Sean. Yeah, go ahead.
I found it was funny that you're like, this is a Barry-centric season, because the one thing I think a lot of people also notice is that we got Barry a lot and not very a lot of Flash.
Yeah, that's true. There was a lot of episodes where Barry was, especially the one like when he was in CCPD. That was another one where there's a lot of Barry. Sean, so more digging into it, I guess the interview the information that I got on initially was it was going to be live action, and then they updated it and said it was going to be animated.
I saw your thing yesterday, and I was like, "Does Eric not know this is animated?"
Yeah. Well, I recorded that video like very early when the news first came out, and then I guess later on at some point they updated it and said it was animated, which I'm actually glad it is, because it would have been extremely expensive to do the Legion TV show as live action, but
your mate.
Yeah, so it's gonna be animated. But I'll do another video on that later when we get more information on it. So,
yeah. Legion of Superheroes replacing Young Justice confirmed.
I know, maybe, I don't know. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about in the top 5 is the second one. I think Eric Wallace is like a big comic book fan who has exciting ideas for the shows. But sometimes I feel like his interviews and things he says come off as disingenuous. And what I mean by that is he's like one of those friends, right? Where you're like, I have the highest score on this video game ever. And he's like, oh, I had the highest score a couple months ago, but I didn't save it. But it was higher than yours. Like he's one of those friends where he gaslights you all the time about stuff.
He always wants to be the big man.
Like, I've seen him in interviews, no offense to Andy or any of the guys that interview him, where they're like, hey, so-and-so did this, this, and this. Did you mean for that to tie into this? He's like, I saw you paid attention. Like, he does that. Like, that's what it does.
No, and you have to do that. You have to do that. The laugh, the half. It's like, you paid attention.
He does that all the time. And
he definitely does.
Like, I feel like it's very disingenuous, and it's basically gaslighting people. And
Eric roasting Eric.
Yeah.
Talk about a paradox. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
My thing is, and Candice, you can talk about this for a second if you want. You've already said everything about it, but I believe showrunners, you have to take half of what they say and go, okay, this might be true, and the other half just go, this is probably all bullshit. I mean, that's pretty much what it is with showrunners.
I think that's a fair assessment. I would say anything about the ideas they've got for the show and any ideas they're telling you about for the future of the show, be very skeptical. But anything they tell you from maybe like a technical aspect or anything like, I'd say anything that's maybe like a year removed from the show, maybe you can trust their input on that more.
I think it's more you listen to what they're saying rather than what they're responding to.
Okay.
Because I think that's where Eric Wallace falls apart a lot.
Or the other thing is if they go, hey, so we've already done filming for this episode and you're going to be really happy when we show you this new power that Barry has. Like a statement like that. And then
anytime the words you won't believe or you're going to be happy or you're going to be excited,
anytime it sounds like they're hyping it up, it's probably not true. Or it's going to be not as exciting as
or you might go, oh, that was cool, but nothing that I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe they went out of their way to do that.
Right. Staggerforth, the 99 Super Chat. I think the episode I enjoyed the most this season is The Man in the Yellow Tie. That's a good episode. That episode had more unexpected surprise cameos than the so-called finale. That episode was surprising because we didn't know that was going to happen, and Danielle Nicolette didn't like clickbait us on that one. So I thought it was pretty good. You guys like that episode? I think that was one of the stronger episodes of the season.
That was definitely one of the stronger
my favorites.
Yeah.
All right. Number 3. And we've already talked about this, but the time sickness storyline was very, very, very flimsy. I just didn't like it. And there was a MacGuffin fix in the end. There was a MacGuffin fix for it. You have to get this stone, and then this stone saves you because time wanted you to do more things, and then you're going to use lightning to get out of the stone, and then when you get out of the stone, you're going to walk up and tell Barry something, and then all of a sudden, Cecile is going to bring the forces back. It was too
My
much.
head hurts hearing this.
It was too much. Number 4 is, I think back to it, poor Chester didn't get a lot this season. Like, I feel like Chester's storyline was connected to Allegra being his on-off like date, and then the stuff with his dad during the Deathstorm.
It wasn't even a date. It was like on-off, somewhat flirting, somewhat awkwardness, somewhat.
The bulk of what Chester got to do was during the Deathstorm graphic novel. Outside of that, he wasn't very present in a lot of the episodes.
Yeah.
Which sucks because I like Chester. And I actually think he's one of the stronger supporting characters that doesn't get enough time on the show.
Yeah.
So
I think the issue is just because he doesn't have powers. Like if his powers were to shoot lasers from his hand or something.
For a long time, Cisco didn't have powers and yet he fit.
Yeah, but they just turned him into Mecha Vibe, and also Cisco was Cisco. They went out of their way to ride for Cisco. Unfortunately, they're not going to go out of their way to ride for Chester.
The last thing I want to talk about is, or the last criticism I have is Cecile being severely overused and mishandled. Now she's got telekinesis. Now she's got telekinesis.
She's mishandled.
Telekinesis, everyone. Did her empathic powers get replaced with telekinesis, or did she have both of them?
Did you see Eric Wallace's interview when asked about that? He just said, "Oh, we just did it
to narrow down what's interview.
Pretty much. Oh, we just did it for the sake of giving her a new power, pretty much." No, she said she earned it. I think that was like she deserved a new ability. I think that
because
was the
he
actual
thought he was
quote.
cheated out of leveling up.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't need to level up. Jesus. Especially not her.
Are
She
you
levels
Lance?
up every season.
Oi. Are you serious? The theme was level up. Everyone deserves to level up. Give Cecile a chance.
No.
Let her level up.
When she was giving out cards,
No.
like you get
Let her
to
level up.
You get to
However,
level up.
Everyone except Frost. Frost leveled down and lost all of her lives.
Yeah, but then she leveled up.
The fact that they literally talked, I am glad they literally referenced her, you know, her powers randomly changing. She's
Who's
been
Cecile?
leveling up. Yes, she's been leveling up since she got her powers.
Wait, did Allegra level up? Because
Yeah,
she just
she
used the
was
same
close.
powers from
Wait,
last
Lance,
season.
what did it say in that interview about her? How did she level up? What was it?
It was, dang, I forgot. It was
She
something
believed in
stupid
herself.
though.
I think it was like the whole like her being at CCC
back in a
Media and stepping up. Okay, CCC
Yeah.
Media stepping up or whatever. Like,
Oh,
like stepping up. The it was way worse than how Chester leveled up.
Chester's was like,
Emotionally.
what was it like? He had to like believe in himself. Chester's believing in himself. Joe
Yeah.
was like
something like that.
to like not be sad or something.
Joe leveled up, but he's
Ooh.
barely on the show. Okay,
Where's it at? Hold on, look. The writing should have leveled up. Oh,
Eric Wallace needs to level up. And,
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. I think the
right.
writing in regards to the actual just main storylines, like the stuff that, you know, they're trying to center around in regards to the big stuff, I think it was clearly an improvement from last season.
Okay,
The
so-
issue is the character stuff and maintaining it over a consistent run of episodes, whether it's 3, whether it's 5, whether it's the entire season.
Yeah.
That was the issue. So we have the Chester stuff, which was pretty well done, some trauma stuff with his dad and everything, but then he's like ghosted for the rest of the season. So that, and he was like right at the beginning, like of that Black Flames, what, episode 8 or 9?
I agree.
So he goes more than half the season with nothing after having focus.
if you think about it, he was a big part of that Deathstorm stuff, and then that was it. Okay, so some of the positives is, and then we're going to wrap it up and get everybody's score on this. I thought it was a good Barry-centric season. I thought the villains were pretty good. I didn't have an issue with a lot of them. I think some of the storylines were really interesting. I think Barry was better, like having more fun with being a speedster and getting more, because he got a lot of stuff to do with like the police department as well.
You also forgot the main thing.
What's that?
Those lovely gold boots, Eric. You haven't mentioned them yet.
The gold boots were, I feel like that's been a lifetime ago, but yeah, the gold boots. I think this season was in a much better place than seasons 6 and 7. I think it was a more cohesive
Specifically
season.
7.
Yeah, specifically 7. Well, like the end of 6. The end of 6 got a bit messy as well.
The final
because of
third,
COVID.
yeah.
So yeah. So for me as a whole season, this one falls somewhere towards the middle, like close to the top of the pack in terms of like where I would rank it. But as a whole season, I would probably put it somewhere around like an 8.5, somewhere around there, 8.59. Because I think it did improve quite a bit with some of the other stuff. And I enjoyed it. I'll probably go back and watch the season. There's only a couple episodes that I'll probably skip over. But even the interlude episodes had redeeming stuff, and they got me with that because you can't really skip the interlude episodes because they actually have...
Except for the Bart and Nora one.
Right, because the rest of them all have like things...
And
that
maybe
are
the
important.
Goldface one.
So, any final thoughts on this? And then we're going to like go through this Candice interview. What about you, Lance? Thoughts on it?
It was better. It was a better season than season 7 for sure. Had its ups, had its downs. Overall, I'd say, are we giving our final scores?
Yeah,
Eric gave it like an 8.
I'd say like a 7.5.
Okay. Canada Graphs, any final thoughts on this season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is an improvement from season 7. I think everybody and their dog has got mostly that same opinion. So it's
Well, Eric has a
good.
cat.
It's good to have them going in the right direction. I don't know if they'll get much better because we're 8 years into the show, but I would give it. I think a 7.5 sounds like a reasonable score. I might go as high as 7.75, but that would be mostly weighing in the best versus not giving the worst as much attention.
Right.
So, yeah.
And Paige, I know you don't like to give scores, but what are your general thoughts on the season as a whole?
I'll give it a score. I'll probably just give it like an 8. I think that's what I gave it. It been like I had some downs, but I don't think they were like overall like negatives.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, the 4 storyline was just a massive negative.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing like that in season 8.
True.
So I think all the storylines were fun to watch. As I said, it was that side stuff where you have Cecile, mainly Cecile, especially in that final third or final quarter, whichever one, what specific you want to get down to. Those were the weak points, but I think overall I'd give it an 8. I was surprised you gave like an 8.59. I thought you would have been like 7.5.
The only reason why, and this is my thoughts on this, I think Armageddon was so good for me. Like for me, that particular graphic novel was the best thing I think I've seen on the show since like season 3. I really, really, really loved that 5-episode storyline. So that kind of edged it out for me. There's a little bias there, obviously, but I really just enjoyed Armageddon as a standalone storyline.
Well, you know what? I think if you take out the time sickness, just confusion, I think the final 3 episodes are amazing as well.
Yes, I agree. I think the final 3 were really strong.
Yeah.
So
really, at that point, you're just dealing with the fact that the Deathstorm arc just had like the Black Flame aspect was just drawn out from like what should have been like 2, and it was drawn out to 3 episodes.
I'm seeing a lot of interesting scores in the chat too. Everybody seems to really enjoy this one, and their rankings are putting season 8 somewhere in the middle, except for a couple of people. And I would say it falls in the middle for me as well.
For me, it's 3rd.
Okay, so you bumped out season 3?
4.
Oh, 4.
No, 3 was my 3rd least favorite.
Okay, all right. Okay, so another thing, and then we're going to read through these little comments quickly that Lance has. I wish we could have saved that whole video. Was so good. I wish we could have saved that one. But anyway,
we cried.
Yeah.
Into the grass. We were crying.
With laughter? Like, what was going on? Like, I'm not too sure what was going on. Like, what are we even talking about?
We're going to talk about the Candice thing quickly.
God.
She did.
Okay. I
So,
was confused. I was like, another Eric Wallace interview came out.
I did see that someone said that next season he's going to be more romance in it. I think is what they
more
said.
humor and romance.
You know, I heard what the first graphic novel is called.
Don't say it. Is it going to be something awful?
I was going to say Love and Thunder, but anyway.
Oh, okay. All right. No, I mean, so here's my opinion on that. That is his response to the people that are upset that Iris wasn't in a lot of the season. That's
Eric,
all that is.
Would you like the inside scoop?
What's the
I've
inside
gone
scoop?
all echoey. He said the same thing for the past 3 seasons leading into the new season.
That's true.
So
Yeah, Daz goes, he didn't like romance. Exactly. All right, so what we're going to do here is Lance.
Oh, God.
What's that?
Chester and Allegra.
Oh, yeah, they're probably going to have a romance storyline too. Probably.
Okay, well, Eric, do you want to make a bet? So what side are you on? Do you think Chester and Allegra are going to get together?
Wait. Do I think they are, or do I want them to?
No, do you think they are? Do you think Eric Wallace is going to write them to officially get together?
Yes.
So do you think he's going to get them together in the first half of next season?
Oh, I don't know about the first half. I think they will eventually go on a date or something. Like,
do you want my prediction? And if I'm wrong, I have to do a dare that you give me at the beginning of next season. So I'm offering myself up. However, if I win, it's a big W, and you have to do a dare.
Okay.
And it's a pretty. I
don't know how I got roped into this when I didn't even agree to it. But go ahead.
Because you're the host, so L. I think they will make it that Chester and Allegra start dating off screen in between seasons.
Oh no!
Oh yeah.
I reckon we pick up next season and they're a couple.
Why did you just say that? Because I think you're right.
So if I'm right, you have to do a dare. It won't be too bad. It'll be like dressing up or like headbutting the wall or something. But if I'm wrong, then you have to pick something for me to do. But
that way,
we got 6 months.
They can advance that story so that they can get to the final story of the show, which is their wedding.
Well, I think me and Eric probably do more than do dares
Yeah.
on
All right,
live
so
stream.
this is the 10-minute warning. We literally are going to stop in 10 minutes, but let me do these quick
Is that a
super
threat?
chats very quickly. Yeah, it's a threat. Stagger with the 4-9 super chat. If next season will be about romance, I might as well bring in Cupid. Please do not bring in Cupid, stupid. I do not want that.
I would
character
love
to
that.
ever come back.
Imagine if that was the cameo at the end of the season.
I'm sure you would. Martin here with a 1999 super chat. Thank you so much, Martin. If you ever managed to pull off Eric Wallace on an after party and you'd ask him a series of questions and most of the responses were rubbish, how would you respond? Would you say okay even though you don't buy it? Or oh wait, there's another one.
You're insinuating that would happen and two, that it would be in a live thing. I don't know
Would
if
you
it'd
tell
be
him you
live.
already said that before it didn't happen? How would you respond? You definitely have to disable the chat. So here's the deal. I
Well,
have actually
the chat would 100% have to be
The
disabled.
chat would be far more fun.
yeah. So here's the deal with Eric Wallace. Like I have already said, obviously it's on my members only thing or whatever. I don't like doing interviews because I don't like disingenuous answers and I can't be that person. So I would probably challenge him on stuff and that would make him upset and that would be the last interview that I ever
The
did.
interview would be
with
void
Eric
and you would
Wallace.
be allowed to
Right.
upload it probably.
The other thing is that I putting actors and people on interviews typically or for promotion reasons. Like they just want to promote whatever it is they're doing, and I get it. So they don't want to answer any real questions. They want to answer the questions that they approve, which means that whatever I ask them, it has to be approved. And then I'm literally they know what they're going to answer before they ever even come into the interview. So it would be difficult to gotcha on that one because they wouldn't answer those kinds of questions. So multi-topic talk. If the focus is on romance, will be a bad version of Smallville since Eric Wallace and his team is clearly not good at people behind Smallville. Behind Smallville. Like Paigey said, and I think Lance has probably read the interviews. I'm sure Candigraph has seen them. He's talked about romance on the show for every season since he's taken over the show. So
a lot of things he's talked about that haven't come through.
And then he's also said he's not a fan of romance. So I don't know. Let's hope that he does a good job. All right, so we're gonna read through. This is the Candice Patton interview from is it One Up podcast? Is that it?
Yes.
The One Up podcast. It's on Apple. It's on Spotify. It's on
Sounds like a video game podcast
or whatever. But it's basically
the guy that plays Dove. It's his podcast, the original Dove on Titans.
Oh, okay.
Oh God.
So he did a podcast with Candice Patton. I believe this was recorded in 2020.
No, before season 8 because she thought it would be her last season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is when it was recorded, and we're not going to individually respond to every single one of these things, but I just want to preface this by saying this was her experience on set. This was stuff that dates all the way back to like 2014, 2015. These are things that were going on early on that she talks about very candidly. And I believe this is probably the most candid she's been in an interview about this stuff that I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen some of these quotes before. Some of the stuff we knew about, some of the stuff we didn't know about. Again, I would love to go in depth on each one of these quotes from the interview, but we just don't have the time. So Lance, read through them and then we'll just give our general thoughts at the end. And this is it. So go ahead, Lance, floor is yours.
Okay, so the first one is people think she's vain because all she posts are pictures of herself, but that's all she's comfortable with sharing because she doesn't want to share her personal life. She would love to share more pics of her family and etc., but feels like that's hers and hers alone. She's not like Iris West, but she tried to be like her in the beginning. She curses. She likes to drink, have fun. She likes hip hop music. She's been trying to separate the two identities for the past year. She received so much backlash and hate in the beginning, and the CW just brushed her concerns aside. She had no support system. There were no protocols in place to protect her from death threats, hates, etc. It's not enough to make a black woman the lead female and check the progressive box. You have to protect them from hate. However, she was more affected by the day-to-day stuff on set. Her white counterpart was promoted more than her in the beginning seasons, despite her being hired as the lead. Her publicist had to ask the Flash account to follow her. She unfollowed them not too long after because their bias was so clear. She stayed A, because she was under contract, B, because she felt a responsibility because she was the first black woman in this role. She dealt with it all by finally getting to a place where she didn't care. She tried being nice at first, but had to get tougher to be taken seriously and get the treatment she deserved. She said she hasn't watched the show since season 1 because it will trigger a bad memory of something bad that happened to her on set. After the Black Lives Matter movement, some white guest stars called her and said to her, "I'm sorry about how I watched bad things happen to you on set. I didn't say anything." Only one person really spoke up for her. She doesn't know what she would have done without that person. I'm guessing everybody knows that was Jessie L. Martin. She discussed the struggles of not having hair and makeup artists that know how to do black hair. She asked stylists if they ever had done black hair before, and they said they've worked on Snoop Dogg once. That's hilarious.
That's such a weird comment. Yeah,
Snoop.
Yeah, that's what they said. So like,
yeah, and the guy that was doing the interview, his reaction was basically like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like he couldn't believe what she was telling him.
So there's a Jamaican barber with a van that goes to the different DC sets to cut the black men's hair because the stylists the CW hired don't know how to do it, and that's true. If you guys remember Pete from Smallville, that man never had a haircut. Never. She always will have backup makeup and hair supplies on hand on any set she's on. Regarding the writing for the show, they put her in the role of Iris, but the writing was still through a white lens.
Right.
She and Jesse talked about how they decorated Joe's house, and they had to tell them that
this one is okay. So
people,
this one is wild. Go ahead, say this. This one blew my mind.
Me too. Most black people don't decorate their houses with giraffes and monkeys. She also brought up Grandma Esther's recipes, noodles, and etc. She learned to protect her mental health and speak up for herself so that her experience is better.
Well, we talked about that. I remember me and Eric talked about this like, oh God, this was like 2 years ago or something like that. And then I think we brought it up again earlier this season that Iris and just the West family as a whole, it was never written as a black family.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
they could
obvious.
be white.
Yeah.
They just could have been white. And the only time you ever really got a sense of any sort of African heritage was when they were eating the food early this year. Remember in the episode 7?
Yeah.
I can't remember what food they were eating, but it was like Ethiopian or from Zimbabwe, something like that.
So first of all,
that was like the first instance of it. I don't know if you could ever see. Could you ever see those little animals in the episodes? You probably could if you went back and watched it.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look. So I want to say a couple things before I give my thoughts on this because I'm really going to keep it very, very, very short. None of us on this podcast can speak from the perspective of a black woman in Hollywood or filming at all. So I'm just going to go out and say that whatever she says, I believe that she experienced this from her perspective, and I respect her for that. And I'm glad she got a chance to say all these things. I also understand the irony about 4 men discussing a woman's experience on set. So I'm not going to dive too far into that. I also don't think she's a diva because she experienced things that were negative in her life. I see a lot of people saying that. I don't believe that. Has she been a diva in other things? I mean, it's possible. But I don't think any of these things were expecting too much. Expecting them to have people to provide hair services for a woman of color, expecting them to have a makeup department for a woman of color, expecting them to be able to decorate the house in a way that doesn't seem like it's offensive to her. Like, these are things that should have happened, and I don't think that is diva behavior. So I just want to point that out. And I also know that we give a lot of criticism on Iris as a character. And I always say you should never go out and attack or belittle or harass anybody acting on the shows because they are there to do a job. And I think a lot of people just don't get that, right? Like a lot of people go too far. And so I would say that I never want to contribute to that. And in the past, I've been accused of contributing to that. I know Canada Graphs has been accused of this. We've all been wrapped up in this world of like going after her. I respect Candice as an actor. I don't know her personally, so I cannot speak for that stuff. That's number one. But I also feel like we can criticize Iris as a character and the writing of the character and how she's done on the show as a character. And if you can split that off, that's fine. And lastly, I want to say that I get that all of these people out there who were on the defense for Candice, they do it because initially there was a huge outcry of people that were angry that a black woman had been cast in the role of Iris. I remember it. It was a big problem. And so everyone sort of came to her support because the network wasn't really saying anything. The co-stars weren't really saying anything. And when she says they didn't do anything to protect her, she's not literally meaning grabbing a sword and shield and jumping in front of the line of fire. She means showing allyship and being supportive of her on the show in a way that makes her feel like she's safe in a workspace without having to deal with that stuff. None of those things, I think, speak to her as a person outside of her being on set and just being there, right? So I wanted to preface all of this, or I guess post say this, because of the fact that we are just talking about her experience, and I don't think I'm not going to try and dispute any of that because I wasn't there. I'm clearly not someone who can understand her perspective. I just appreciate that this podcast was able to bring these things up because this is a side of the entertainment industry that we don't always are privy to. I think Candice is probably the only person who gets close enough to set to even have an idea about some of these things and how they function. So that's how I feel about it. And yeah.
Well, that's the thing. The Fresh Sounds Florida is like, how could they have written a black family? I'd have no idea because me as a person, I'm a hodgepodge of different cultures. You know, I'm mixed all over the fucking board. I'm not strictly one thing.
I don't know. Maybe
so I wouldn't be able. I wouldn't be able to.
Their family is.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be able to. You'd have to ask someone like, I don't know, Lance, for example. Fucking obvious,
right?
Yeah. In regards to what a certain experience might be, but it obviously bounces around. Yeah, in different families.
I'm going to say, like, a good example is, and then let everybody have their final say on it, is when she says written through a white lens, she means like, okay,
how would a white person write a
right? So if somebody were to ask me, hey, write a story about
it's like we're just talking about with the
family
male and female
dealing
stuff.
with a certain thing in a certain neighborhood, how do I write that story? I've never experienced that, and anything that I write would be secondhand information. Now, I know people say, oh, anybody can write any story they want, and that's absolutely true. But when you have an actor who's telling you this needs to be more genuine, it needs to be more authentic, you need to do the extra steps to make sure that it is. Yeah. And as a writer, do you have resources for that?
And I think the main reason they didn't do it before is probably because Barry was technically a part of that family, especially early on. Like really, when you think about it, like he lived in that house.
Right.
So do you think that might have been a reason that they didn't do that? But then I'm trying to think of like, back when The Flash came out, I don't think there was a focus on that either with just in the media as a whole.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think of what other shows were doing back then as well where they tried to focus on it.
Lance, because we got to wrap this up. Lance, I want you to just take some time and give your thoughts and opinions on this as well. So
yeah, like Bryce brings up Black Lightning.
Yeah. Is Lance frozen?
Hello, Lance?
Either that or he's posing and he's doing a really good job.
I think he might be frozen.
He's in shock over all of this.
He is. Okay, so Toe Senior says, is this a Canada thing or would it be different if written in Hollywood and LA? So there's a history of issues with how groups are written. And so I don't necessarily know if it's a Canada thing because
you guys just froze.
Yeah, as I say, you're back. Oh, wait, at least we have audio, right? Can everybody hear us?
No, he's moving. He's moving as well.
Okay. But quickly, and then Lance, you can take over. Candigraphs, aren't these scripts written in Los Angeles? Isn't that where they're written?
Yeah. The Canadian, there's a couple of writers on the ground in Vancouver, but they are usually there just to polish up the final details. They would get a 90% plus finished script.
Right. All right. So, Lance, I want you to give your thoughts on this interview because I think your perspective is probably the most important in this right now. So, what are your thoughts on what is said here and how does it affect you and like your family and stuff? Like, how would you feel about all this?
Honestly, like I told you when we talked earlier this week, I'm glad that she got to get all of this out. A lot of this is still true today to how some of these other actresses and actors who take on these, predominantly white-led roles that wouldn't be really race-bent in like the earlier days. This is a plight that, everybody deals with. And when she talks about being written through a white lens, that can go two different ways. Yes, what Fresh Sounds Florida was saying is true to an extent, but then you have to think about it. Think about how the guy that's writing the Miles Morales version of Thor in that What If comic, think about all of that backlash because of how horribly written it is, because he's trying to write it through what he thinks, a young black teen would talk like. Those type of like racial, type slurs that they would use and all the slang and all of that stuff. I get what she's saying when she's talking about that. And yes, I can see that. Now, what they could have done is, just, go to her and go to Jesse to see how they would like to, be meshed together as a family. Now, did it work for the show? For, the viewers? Yes, because, they seem like a very well put together family. They seem to have, their house is nicely decorated. But come on now. The whole thing with putting, like, my living room has a nice TV stand, a love seat and a nice sofa.
Oh,
I don't have giraffes and I don't have my parents didn't even have giraffes and monkeys in their houses.
It's like stereotype. Yeah.
Like, come on, they couldn't have thought that was okay. Like, it's no way in the world that they thought that was gonna fly.
Well, yeah, like for example, like I don't know, like in my place and also my mom's place. Like, we just got, like, stuff, like, it's from all over the board. Like, it's just random. It has nothing to do with who we are as people or, like, from anything like that. Like, it also bounced from family to family, as you were saying before. So it's weird that they went with that, like, borderline, if not just straight up stereotypical way of decorating.
Yeah.
It felt unnecessary as well.
I wonder, like, completely unrelated but slightly related, do you think their intentions originally were to have Iris and Joe be white, but they got Jesse L. Martin and they're like, holy shit, we have Jesse L. Martin, and suddenly they're like, I guess we're writing a black family? If you go back to the casting call, I don't think there was a specific race. Yeah. It was like just an open audition. It wasn't specific. It was just, I think, the age range. That was it.
And then
so they got Jesse L. Martin, and they're like, we're going with Jesse L. Martin.
Yep.
Okay.
And then
because I think Candice was one of the last people cast as well for the show. I think she was like one of the last 2 or 3 cast for the show.
Well, yeah, because Danielle and Carlos would have been cast before her because they were in the Arrow episode.
And obviously Grant.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, move on. Continue. Push forward.
So, and then it goes even further with like the being protected on set and the whole just basically standing up for your actors. I mean, I know when Javicia, Azzy, and Cameras and all of them, when they did their whole little their little live chats, when they do their discussions, even Anna Diop over at Titans, they always say Candice is the one that they look up to the most because she was here first. She was the one that basically showed like you can stand up for yourself. You can, ignore the trolls. You can take on these roles that, let's be honest, this biased comic book world, this biased world in general, this racist world, they don't want to see you in that. And you can do that because, okay, Candice showed us she's a strong black woman. She's, she's fighting for this. She's ignoring all the haters. We can do it too. And it's true. The CW, no matter how much they want to say dare to defy and we're not standing for any of this type of stuff, they didn't protect Javicia at all.
No. They're very bad. But
I want to point out again, because there seems to be the people in the chat don't really understand what the word protect means in this sense. It just means like showing them that they have your back. They obviously can't stop people from saying stuff. Yeah, but they could definitely be supportive. That's what protect means.
Like Javicia took the brunt of this, and then she came in. She turned your show around, which was a train wreck from the jump because of how it was advertised and the whole controversy with the recasting and everything. She stepped into a mess knowing what was going to happen because, she felt that strength from Candice. Now, I don't know how deep their relationship was before this, if there was one. But, I mean, she stepped into a role. She took the brunt of it. And then you toss her aside without any warning. I mean, you let Candice.
You're talking about Javicia got thrown away without the warning.
I would say the connection with the comparison to what happened with Ralph and Candice are completely different. They're not the same at all.
Bye, Ben.
So yeah, exactly.
No, I think that might have been the Orient Express as being a murder.
I don't know. So basically, we're just wrapping up with this is that that I think a lot of times some of the best stories.
Just the last one for good measure.
The best stories are the ones where someone writes it from a perspective that they understand, right? We've talked about this before. Like the Bloodwork storyline was really good because Eric Wallace says that was a story that was personal to him. He wrote that based on something that he wanted to write that came from his life. And I think there's a bit of authenticity that works when you're talking about families and characters on shows. Do you have to be X, Y, and Z to write X, Y, and Z? No, you don't have to be. But if you get it wrong because you don't understand the culture, the community, the things that go into it, it's probably because you didn't do your due diligence. Like for example, look at a show like Pose on FX. That's a show about the gay scene from the 80s, the 90s, and specifically the Black and Latina, Latinx community in New York at the time, dealing with a specific point in history. Getting someone who does not know that community, is not a part of that community, or is someone that is involved with that community and somehow to come in and write those stories would have made it pretty much awful. They had a lot of people involved with that program that did have that kind of background.
Well, even look at Miss Marvel at the moment.
Yeah. So it makes it better. So when Candice says that these characters were being written in a way that felt disingenuous to her because of the people that were writing it, I don't think she means that those people are incapable of writing these stories. I think what she means, and I'm not speaking for her, this is just my take on it, is that they should have done their due diligence to make sure that they were following through on everything they were writing for those characters.
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
And then she talked about the noodle dish. I'm like,
Yeah.
we have special dishes, but I mean, I don't know anybody in my family who just like, oh yeah, I got this nice little noodle dish. Only noodles I'm eating are ramen noodles.
Oh,
and that's not a special dish.
I also want to point out, guys, this was not the Eric Wallace era where this happened. This was all like in the beginning.
Andrew,
yes, exactly. Yes, that's an important point to a lot of that.
Yeah. So most of this stuff was her
experience. It's Kreisberg and Helbing area.
A lot of that has changed now, and it's because of all of these things. Like all of the things that she struggled through made it easier for other people coming into the CW. But clearly there's still work that has to be done. But I think that a lot of that can be accounted to that. So as much as we criticize Iris, as much as people may have an issue with Candice, this was her experience. She was very candid about it. I'm so glad she had the opportunity to say these things. And it does sort of allow me a chance to see what was going on with her. And it's sad that she hasn't been able to watch the show since season 1. That to me, like she can't, when she's in an interview, she can't even properly speak about what's happening with her character because she's not even watching the final product. So that's sad that she even feels that way about it, to be completely honest. So that's pretty much it. We don't want to leave on a downer though. Next week, we'll be talking about Superman and Lois season 2. So make sure you come in next week. So the disconnected season. We're going to cover all that stuff. Next
you mean that
Thursday.
Arrowverse show?
Yeah, the Arrowverse show. It'll be earlier though. I don't know how much it will be. Probably like a couple of hours earlier than it is now. And so that way we have a chance to go through and talk about everything. So we're going to do that. Make sure you check out the community tab. I'm having a few polls this week. If you're a Team Eric member, the watch along for Amazing Spider-Man 2012 will be over this weekend. And Paigey doesn't like that. He thinks it's a horrible movie, but there we go.
Wait, what movie?
Does Paigey hate Andrew Garfield?
I don't know.
That confirmed?
I don't know.
No, I don't dislike the first one. The second one is ass, but I don't mind the first one. It's just a bit silly.
I don't want to talk too much about Thor: Love and Thunder because it's not even like been out for more than a few hours in the United States. In some places,
I'm going tomorrow.
I did talk briefly about it. I enjoyed it very quickly. My non-spoiler review's up, but I'll mention it here. I enjoyed it. It's very much a Taika Waititi film. The comedy is 100% him. This is more him than I think Thor Ragnarok was. It's much more humor. Some of it lands, some of it doesn't. I think Christian Bale was amazing in his role.
The thing I'll say is, this doesn't spoil anything.
Yeah.
It's clearly, without a doubt, you're shilling if you're lying. This is a warning to Eric. It's missing like 20 to 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah, there definitely feels like there's some stuff missing. I actually had a few questions at the end where I'm like, why did that happen? What happened there? Like,
yeah,
definitely.
And they even like reference cut scenes as well, which is awesome.
Why, Martin, would you put that thought in anyone's head?
Wait, hold on. Martin with the super chat before we go here. Could you manage a Freaky Friday where Ben is in Paige's body and Paigey was in Ben's body? Could you imagine the abundance of L's Ben would have inside of Paige's body?
Well, what a privilege for Ben, and two, would he ruin my reputation? Well, that's what's going on here.
Does that mean you have to start making clickbait videos? I mean, some of your titles lately have been. So,
what would I do on Ben's? What would I do on Ben's channel?
Give him some.
Make some actual like content.
Yeah, maybe that might be the good idea. Make some actual content.
Yeah. Last super chat. Don't send any super chats. I'm probably gonna miss them. Just a fair warning. 199 for Stagger. Is anyone excited about Legion of Superheroes? If it's anything like Young Justice, yes. But I hope we don't lose Young Justice because of Legion of Superheroes. But we might. So
do you want to lighten the mood? Do you want some dad jokes? I've got two.
Oh God! All right, go ahead. We'll do 2 dad jokes and then we'll wrap it up. Go ahead.
Okay, first one. Why did Walter White crash his car?
To get rid of all the coke.
Because he was Breaking Bad.
Oh my! Are you?
I forgot how stupid some of these are.
All right.
And
What's
finally,
the next one? Yeah.
To finish off the stream, Eric, get the end stream button ready.
All right.
It's not edgy. It's just a dad joke.
All right.
What would you call a shoe made out of bananas?
Banana shoe?
A slipper. Good
That's
night,
it.
everyone.
We're out. Bye. Have a good night, everyone.